Compared to the imminent conference in Beijing, the trip to Chinatown was more important for Yi Mo. Compared to the imminent conference in Beijing, the trip to Chinatown was more important for Yi Mo. There was the Pacific Ocean between the U.S. and China. To Yi Mo, although he could fly to Chinatown, San Francisco, it would cost him quite a lot of stamina. Yi Mo estimated that if he hadn't absorbed so much spirit qi on the Gu King's Island and consolidated his cultivation state, then perhaps he wouldn't even be able to fly to San Francisco. But now, if he brought something that he could rest on in the Pacific Ocean, then he should be fine. If he could take the plane, he wouldn't choose to fly on his sword, but now he was going to San Francisco. And no matter how well connected he was, he still needed a visa. This was too troublesome for him. Yi Mo didn't like troublesome things. So Yi Mo eventually chose to fly to San Francisco on his sword. It was faster and more free. Yi Mo's storage ring wasn't big. He stored some food and water in it and then bought 2 inflatable boats before heading to San Francisco. The amount of people in Beijing these few days far exceeded expectations. As more and more people rushed into Beijing, Luo Yu Corporation felt the importance of the conference. The reason they chose to have the conference in Beijing was because they knew how much rapture would cause. Above everything, Beijing was the capital of China. There wouldn't be a problem, no matter how many people came. If they chose another city and too much people came causing serious consequences, then they wouldn't be able to handle the aftermath. Although there were many people here for the business opportunity, most of them were here to buy a bottle for themselves since the outlets in other regions were out of supply. This massive surge in population brought great pressure to the security of Beijing. The Beijing government had notified Luo Yu Corporation to bring the conference forward to avoid bringing more people into Beijing. Luo Yu Corporation made the quick decision to immediately resupply at the 10 outlets in China and started to sell more of the beauty pill, and even pushed out the health pill early. On top of that, they held the conference a day earlier. This immediately resulted in a smaller population flow to Beijing. Still, journalists from all over the world were still rushing in. Ning Qingxue and Li Mumei traveled to Beijing in the middle of the night for no other reason but the earlier conference date. This sudden change in date caught a lot of people off guard. Beijing's De Tang Hotel was a 5-star hotel not because of how lavish the design was, but because it had a first-grade international meeting room. Today, there was a sea of people outside it. All sorts of journalists had rushed here because the conference was going to be held here. The De Tang Square, outside of the hotel, was also very popular. Many small business owners came here to seek business opportunities and established an impromptu market. Yet the most eye-catching of all was still the store of Luo Yu outside the De Tang Square. Here, Luo Yu was going to bring out 10,000 bottles of the beauty pill and 2,000 bottles of the health pill. Although countless people wanted to buy a bottle of the beauty pill, no one tried to push in line because everyone knew that if you tried to, you would lose the right to buy. Due to such an influx of people, everyone has been limited to 5 bottles each. Despite all the restrictions, the 10,000 bottles were gone in the first 2 hours. A position at the front was worth 10K. Other than a rare few who bought 1 or 2 bottles, most people bought 5 bottles. It was still 2 hours before the conference, but journalists had started interviewing the pharmaceutical companies from all over the world. Unlike other conferences, Luo Yu Corporation will choose their partner on the spot and inform them then and there. That wasn't all. The chosen companies will also decide their subcontractors on the spot. All the conditions of the contract will be publicized. Although there were only a few spots, everyone was rubbing their palms. Even if they couldn't be chosen, it would be good to get a subcontract. In the spacious resting room of the De Tang Hotel, hundreds of corporate elites had congregated here. Due to the change in date, only 140 out of the 190 or so companies in Asia had made it. The European, American, and other African companies together added up to about 170. Many more couldn't make it due to the change in date. The most popular to get the spot were the Yuanbei, Xianlin, and Lianfeng Corporation of China, Korea's Shaohan Corporation, Japan's AI Wei Corporation, USA's Tuoluo Corporation, and France's Muka Corporation. Therefore, the journalists mostly interviewed these companies. There were also a few journalists interviewing second and third grade companies, but they had much less people. The young CEO of Yuanbei Corporation, Yuan Qibing, had the most journalists around him because they were most likely to succeed. Not only that, more than 80% of the corporate representatives would come to greet Yuan Qibing because they wanted him to have an initial impression of their corporation. Once Yuanbei got the spot, they would have more chances to become a subsidiary. Mr. Yuanbei Corporation is one of the 5 greatest pharmaceutical corporations in the world and the biggest pharmaceutical corporation in China. What do you think of Luo Yu's conference this time? Do you think your corporation has hope of being one of the 2 companies in Asia to be partnered with them? A very sweet-looking female journalist winked at Yuan Qibing and asked what everyone wanted to ask. With the question of this female journalist, all the microphones were pointed at Yuan Qibing. Yuan Qibing was a young CEO who wasn't even 30 yet. Not only was he good-looking, he was one of the most successful young people in China. Many admired him. Yuan Qibing smiled elegantly at the journalist's question. Despite Yuanbei Corporation being the leading goat of Asian pharmaceutical companies, we still have many inadequacies, and many corporations are on par with us. But being a company that focuses on traditional Chinese herbal medicine, we share many common attributes with Luo Yu Corporation. Of course, Luo Yu is a new corporation, but their achievements are being witnessed by the world. The beauty pill they created is superbly astounding, just like the heart safety serum we have made. We produce it purely based on herbs with no side effects at all. I believe we are quite similar in that way. If we can work together, it would be the strong working together. As soon as he finished, another journalist asked, Mr. Yuan, you just said that Luo Yu is a new corporation. Does this mean that their power is far less than Yuanbei? And you compared the heart safety serum with the beauty pill. Does this mean their values are equivalent? Yuan Qibing's face sunk. Although he believed that their company would have no problem being selected by a small company like Luo Yu, he was very unhappy faced with such a sharp question before the conference even began. However, he couldn't just not answer. Perhaps the entire world was watching him right now. One wrong word, and his Yuanbei Corporation would be pushed to the tip of the wave. Even though, in his mind, the Luo Yu Corporation wasn't even suited to carry their shoes, he couldn't say this. The profit of the beauty pill was too crazy after all. Not a single corporation could ignore it. Yuan Qibing removed his smile and said, Luo Yu Corporation have proved their power being able to produce the beauty pill. As for the beauty pill and the heart safety serum, they can't be compared because they have different target audiences. Mr. Yuan, if your company succeeds, how many subcontracts will you be choosing in China? Mr. Yuan, the Luo Yu Corporation is developing rapidly. Would they soon rise to be the new leading goat in pharmaceutics in China? Dad, who are you looking for? Is it Big Uncle and Company? Ning Qingxue saw her father looking for something in the guest hall and asked curiously. She saw that the Ning Family Corporation from Beijing had also come, which is why she thought her father was looking for them. Dad, who are you looking for? Is it Big Uncle and Company? Ning Qingxue saw her father looking for something in the guest hall and asked curiously. She saw that the Ning Family Corporation from Beijing had also come, which is why she thought her father was looking for them. Hee, Big Uncle? I don't know those brothers who tried to push my daughter into the fire pit, Ning Zhongfei sneered. Then he rubbed his eyes and said, Last night, I met a very good young man at a cafe. He said that his company was also coming to the conference today, and it was he who strengthened my will to come. I'm looking for him, but I can't seem to find him. Uncle, what's their company called? Li Mumei asked. Ning Zhongfei patted his head. Look at me. I actually forgot to ask what their company was called, and I forgot to ask what his name was. At the time, I also gave him a bracelet that I bought in America for 8K. Humph, I think he might just be a fraud, Li Mumei scorned. Ning Zhongfei was dazed. Right, was that person a fraud? But he didn't seem like it. He had the exact same bracelet as him. How could there be such a coincidental thing in the world? But the fact was that he gave his bracelet to him without asking for money. As though sensing her father's worry, Ning Qingxue asked, Dad, didn't you say he strengthened your will to come? A few thousand for your confidence is a worthy buy. Ning Zhongfei knew that his daughter didn't want him to lose the will to fight before the conference, and thought, yeah, it was only a few $1,000s. CEO Ning, you came here personally. My father isn't as diligent as you, but I believe your Feiyu Corporation stands quite a good chance. Your team is far superior than our Yuan Bei corporations. To be honest, I'd really like to work with your Feiyu Corporation, but it's a pity. Yuan Qibing shook away the journalists and came between Ning Zhongfei and the others. His tone was rather sardonic. Li Mumei spoke coldly. That wouldn't be of your concern, CEO Yuan. No matter whether we succeed or not, it has nothing to do with your Yuan Bei Corporation. Yuan Qibing looked at Ning Qingxue. This otherworldly beauty made him dream about her countless times, and now that she appeared before his eyes, his heart was very itchy. He just realized that when he saw Ning Qingxue, she was prettier than he'd imagined. He had seen quite a lot of beautiful women, but none as perfect as Ning Qingxue. Yuan Qibing smiled, and didn't seem to care about what Li Mumei said. Instead, he spoke, CEO Ning, I really wish to cooperate with Feiyu Corporation. If CEO Yuan, you may leave. We still have things to discuss, and there's a lot of journalists waiting for you. You don't need to waste your time here. Ning Qingxue coldly stopped his words. Yuan Qibing's smile receded. Although Yuan Bei Corporation isn't overly big, our words still carry some weight. I believe your situation hasn't been well recently. Otherwise, you wouldn't be at a conference you obviously have no hope for. Why still reject me? Yuan, we don't welcome you here. Our well-being has nothing to do with you. Ning Qingxue's tone grew colder and colder. Yuan Qibing looked at the frosty Queen Ning Qingxue and couldn't resist the urge in his heart. He had made up his mind. No matter the cost, he was going to get his hands on this woman. It seemed hearing the loud noise over here, and seeing one of the sources was Yuan Qibing of Yuan Bei Corporation, made many journalists rush over. Qingxue, your company is also here, a female journalist called out in joy. Ning Qingxue looked at this female journalist. She knew who this journalist was, Xiao Lei, a very famous journalist in Beijing. But they weren't even familiar. So why did she act like she was acquainted with her? By the way, I saw your husband Yi Mo in Beijing the other day. Are you guys Oka Dash? Xiao Lei finished and felt she shouldn't have said that. How could she bring up Yi Mo for no reason and ask something like that? She clearly knew that they weren't doing well, yet she asked a question like that. However, she didn't expect Ning Qingxue to smile and say, We're good. Thank you for your concern. You're already married? Yuan Qibing frowned. That was horrible for him. He didn't even think before asking that question. Ning Qingxue sneered. CEO, Yuan, please leave. What's my marriage status got to do with you? Having declared so, she couldn't even be bothered to look at Yuan Qibing. Yuan Qibing looked at Ning Qingxue and had a very strange smile on his face because he immediately understood what was going on. To him, he had to get Ning Qingxue regardless of whether she was married or not. He had researched Ning Qingxue's history. Her father didn't get along with the Ning family and left them, establishing their Feiyu Corporation in State. Other than that, Ning Qingxue was obviously still a virgin. There were no signs that she had been married. With his experience of going through the flower field, he could tell this with ease. Ning Qingxue and Yimo's story might have created quite the news in Beijing before. It was locked down quickly with the power of the Song family. Therefore, other than the people in their circle, rarely anyone knew about it. Although Yuan Qibing was the young master of the biggest pharmaceutical company in China, he didn't know either. Even though the Yuan family could be called decent, they were far from enough from the 5 big families of China. They couldn't even step foot in that circle. Although Ning Qingxue had lost some memories, her long-time experience being the decision-maker of the company meant that she was good at observing facial expressions. She could feel something wasn't right by the way Xiao Lei mentioned Yimo. Xiao Lei was tall and had good skin. Being a beautiful journalist in China, she had her advantages. She didn't think she was very familiar with Xiao Lei up till now, but did they perhaps have any connection due to Yimo? Thinking about this, Ning Qingxue wanted to ask Xiao Lei afterwards. The conference is about to begin. May all the corporate representatives please enter. Journalists, please remain outside. After the end of the conference, there will be a press conference, the announcement sounded. And Yuan Qibing left while looking at Ning Qingxue one more time. The reason why Yimo had prepared inflatable rafts was because he was afraid that with his current chi reserves, he wouldn't be able to fly to San Francisco in one go. Although his spirit chi was much more plenty than before, San Francisco was too far from Beijing. It was almost 10,000 km away, 5 times the distance to Hong Kong. He didn't want to fall into the ocean midway due to lack of chi, although he could stop his sword in midair and rest. Yimo didn't want to do that. He felt it was dangerous to rest in the air. With his current skill, he couldn't go much higher into the sky. If he were scanned by some satellite and believed to be some alien, he wouldn't be able to survive a missile barrage. So, he needed to reduce the time he spent in the air, and he keep up his speed in order to avoid the notice of the military. He chose to leave at night. 2 hours later, Yimo opened the inflatable raft and landed in the Pacific Ocean. Although more than half his chi had been depleted, he could still continue flying. The reason he stopped was because Yimo felt like he was being watched. He knew that his current spirit sense wasn't on the same level as radar's. He could only scan a little less than 300 meters. Yimo estimated that he had gone almost 3/4 of the way and only needed half an hour more to arrive in San Francisco. Even though he hadn't used his fastest speed, Yimo still believes the speed was much faster than a plane's. Yimo spread his spirit sense on the raft and didn't find anything. The surface of the Pacific Ocean was deadly silent. However, he remained uneasy in his heart. He knew this area was in U.S. military range, and if he got caught by the U.S. military, he really wouldn't be able to get off easily, especially considering his exhausted chi reserves. Even if he was at the chi-gathering tertiary stage, he wouldn't be able to get much of an advantage against the high technology of the U.S. Although he didn't find any danger, his life experience in the cultivation realm made him stay vigilant. Just when Yimo stood up on the raft, he felt like an extreme danger was charging at him. Yimo didn't hesitate even a bit before jumping into the ocean and leaving the raft. As soon as Yimo flew into the ocean, an underwater missile hit the raft with rapid speed, creating a huge explosion. Then the raft disappeared. Yimo was stunned. Had he not dodged that, then he really would have been in danger. This thing wasn't some bullet or the like. His body wouldn't be able to take an underwater missile head-on. He was stunned his conjecture had come true. Yimo was pissed. He was just traveling. Even if you see some unidentified flying object from the sky, you can't just bomb it for no reason. Analogous with Yimo's worry, the conference was also an anxious place. Analogous with Yimo's worry, the conference was also an anxious place. Yu Miaodan, who had this certain mature lady temperament, stood up and said with a smile, "First of all, I would like to thank everyone on behalf of Luo Yu Corporation for attending this conference." After a round of applause, Yu Miaodan continued, "Due to the will of our CEO, the 4 spots have been changed to 3, 1 each from Asia, Europe/America, and Africa." As soon as Yu Miaodan's voice stopped, the Asian pharmaceutical representatives started to argue. This meant their chances of being chosen were now halved. After the audience quietened down a bit, Yu Miaodong smiled and continued, "Please calm down, everyone. Although we reduced one spot for partners, we also increased the authority for those who get it. Every partner exit for the African one can have 20 subcontractors. All those subcontractors may also enjoy the profit of Luoyu products." Yu Miaodong's words started another uproar. The atmosphere in the room intensified again. At this moment, one pharmaceutical representative stood up and asked, "May I ask CEO Yu what the benefits of subcontractors are?" Yu Miaodong smiled and said, "Partners and subcontractors may get a free copy of our herb refining technology and may also buy refinery machines from Luoyu. I believe everyone knows how precious that is." Yu Miaodong's words created another uproar. Up until now, no one could crack how the beauty pill was made, nor the process. Although people have analyzed most of the constituents, no one could produce it yet. No one understood why the beauty pill had no impurities. This was a hard question. Of course, the focal point of the question was material refining. Now, Luoyu was providing that for free. If they got their hands on that, even if they couldn't enjoy the profit of the beauty pill, they could still allow their own company's products to be greatly refined. Yu Miaodong knew what they were thinking, of course. If she wasn't a part of Luoyu, she wouldn't understand either why Luoyu was providing such technology. This was destroying their own business. But now she wouldn't think like that. The reason was so that Luoyu could focus on producing and not refining. Everyone, please quieten down. Firstly, the refining technology we provide everyone with will be for different ingredients. If such technology is leaked from your company, then you will forever lose the opportunity to cooperate with us, Luoyu. Secondly, our company will also publish some rare herbs. If anyone here can find one of them, you can also become a subcontractor of Luoyu's partners, and we will provide double the technology. As soon as she said that, someone asked, "What if we find 2 or more of those herbs?" "If that will be the case, then your company will become our partner. More than that, if you can find 10 or more, then our corporation will build a beauty pill production factory for you, also providing technical assistance," Yu Miaodong said without hesitation. The scene quieted down, so every company stood a chance. Those who knew how to find rare herbs were already thinking of ways to gather 10 types of herbs Luoyu needed to build a beauty pill production factory. This meant money rolling in. However, people also seemed to realize how hard it would be to find those 10 types of herbs. "May I ask CEO Yu if we will have the opportunity to participate in the sales of the beauty pill and other products of your company?" a foreigner with stuttering Chinese asked. Yu Miaodong smiled and replied, "Of course, all partners of Luoyu will have the opportunity to sell our Luoyu products. The amount will depend on the amount of ingredients your company refines, which also means that partners will be directly responsible for subcontractors. The more ingredients you refine, the more sales you may have. Blatantly put, this is a trade." "Then may I ask CEO Yu if we have the opportunity to sell the beauty pill and Luoyu is also selling, our price wouldn't be as competitive as Luoyu's. Wouldn't that mean we can't make sales?" The person asking this question was asking against his heart. How could the beauty pill not make sales? Yu Miaodong still replied, "There's no such thing as unable to make sales. Theoretically, the profit earned by selling the beauty pill in exchange for refined materials should definitely be around a couple hundred times over. Even if we reduce the price of the beauty pill to 10K a bottle, there would still be huge profit in it." Afterwards, Yu Miaodong looked around at everyone and said, "Now, those who wish to be a partner of us, please put your portfolio on the table. We will be collecting them now." When her assistant went to collect the portfolios, Yu Miaodong's eyes caught onto Fei Yu Corporation. She saw Ning Qingxue at first glance and was shocked. How was she this pretty? Even if she ate the beauty pill every day, she couldn't get this pretty. Yu Miaodan also believed she was beautiful, but in front of Ning Qingxue, she realized even if she were 20 years younger, she couldn't even begin to compare with her. No wonder Yi Mo married her. He had good eyes. Soon, the portfolios were collected. Yu Miaodan gave them to Zhang Jiayan and said, "Now, if you have any questions, you may ask them. If there are any special attributes about your corporation, you may also state that now. We will soon post the herbs we need." However, Yuan Qibing spoke, "CEO Yu, I'm Yuan Qibing of Yuan Bay Corporation. We admire your company's ability to create the beauty pill. Ever since our corporation has been established, we have strived for breakthroughs through herbal medicine. After many years of research, we have made some progress. Our heart safety serum is renowned throughout the world. If we can cooperate with Luo Yu, then all the relevant technology regarding it will be our meeting gift." Everyone looked around upon hearing this. Although the heart safety serum was far from the beauty pill, everyone in the pharmaceutical industry knew the huge profit it created for Yuan Bay Corporation. They didn't expect Yuan Qibing to be willing to take it out straight away. This crushed the hopes of many Asian corporations. Yu Miaodan smiled. "CEO, Yuan really has guts, but our company has the ability to research any product. Although your heart safety serum is not bad, we don't care about it. We are looking for partners not based on size, but suitability." Yu Miaodan's words were heartless and gave Yuan Qibing a slap in the face. His face turned bad. He showed goodwill, accentuating that their corporation was the biggest, and it would only benefit Luo Yu to work with them. Yet now, they were rejected without a thought. Although Yuan Qibing looked bad, other companies rejoiced. They didn't expect Luo Yu to straight out reject the heart safety serum. Any other company wouldn't be able to reject it. And from CEO Yu's words, it seemed that any company had a chance to be chosen. They didn't have to be big. But everyone thought, yeah, Luo Yu's own beauty pill had more demand than supply. So why would they need the heart safety serum? Li Mumei saw Yuan Qibing's face and laughed. She uttered quietly to Ning Qingxue, "Qingxue, this CEO Yu is really cute. If she were a man, I would marry her immediately. This Yuan is truly detestable, but seeing him bump into the wall, I like it." Ning Qingxue also felt satisfied. She had long since detested this Yuan Qibing, but her company's power was too small. One word from them kicked her company out of the game. "I feel that our portfolio is too simple." Ning Zhongfei saw everyone else's were a full stack, but theirs was only a few pages. "Dad, we weren't planning to be chosen as partners anyway. We'll just wait and see who gets chosen as partner, and we can try for their subcontractor position. I just didn't expect Asia to be reduced to one. This isn't good news for us," Ning Qingxue replied. Just when Yi Mo dodged the missile, he felt another incoming threat and sidestepped without thinking. Just when Yi Mo dodged the missile, he felt another incoming threat and sidestepped without thinking. Rumble, another missile exploded where he had stood. Yi Mo was very annoyed being attacked twice. Although he couldn't scan the position of the submarine, he could tell from the water flow. Yi Mo was never someone who didn't retaliate upon being attacked. 2 missiles pissed him off completely. Yi Mo went along the direction the missile had come from. Missiles shot past him constantly, and Yi Mo soon found the submarine 100 meters away. Yi Mo took out his flying sword without hesitation and shot it out. Even though its power was affected due to the water, it was enough for the submarine. Rumble, even in the water, the speed of the flying sword wasn't something missiles could compare with. Just when Yi Mo dodged another missile, the sword sliced open the outer shell of the submarine. If Yi Mo weren't concerned about his chi reserves, he would cut this sub in half, a few hundred meters under the water. If the sub was sliced open, the soldiers inside would be in danger. But Yi Mo didn't care about their lives. Since they had tried to kill him, he would be merciless. Yi Mo sighed. It was finally quiet. He was just finding a place to rest and was attacked for no reason. Although he had taken the submarine out, he was still unhappy. But just as Yi Mo was about to resurface, he found there were still a few patrol ships on the surface. So it was a fleet. Yi Mo shook his head. He didn't have any interest in murdering this fleet, yet he also knew that news of him could get out. In time, he might be surrounded. Even though Yi Mo wasn't afraid of being surrounded, he didn't like such pointless battles. 1, he wouldn't get anything out of it, and 2, there was no point. Since he wanted to avoid battle, Yi Mo could only pass through by the ocean floor. 2 hours later, Yi Mo came out from a desolate area of sea. Although his chi was seriously depleted, he still went on the flying sword and headed for San Francisco. Yi Mo was scared he would cause more trouble if he stayed in the ocean. At the same time, the HQ of the U.S. Navy received urgent news. A fleet of patrol ships had found a UFO, possibly alien. This news was quickly sent to the Pentagon, and the White House reacted immediately by sending backup. Yi Mo was right. The place where he fought had already gathered a large amount of U.S. Marine military power. The White House established the highest level state of alert and told the world that there was a UFO in the Pacific Ocean. The U.S. Marines fought with the UFO and lost one nuclear-powered submarine SSM-6120. No troops from the submarine survived, and the UFO had also disappeared. It was suspected to be an alien invasion. Compared to other conferences, Luo Yu's efficiency was much better. It took only 2 hours for the companies to be selected. Unlike other conferences where it would take a whole month, everyone felt anxious waiting for the announcement. Qingxue, I feel the Asian spot won't necessarily be for Yuanbei Corporation. Did you notice that Luo Yu's CEO Yu doesn't really like that Yuan Qibing? Who does he think he is? Li Mumei whispered by Ning Qingxue's ear. At this moment, Wu Chong walked in front of Fei Yu's position and took out a letter for Ning Qingxue. CEO Ning, I am sorry. I have come to Fei Yu Corporation's area because I have no choice. Our CEO, Yuan, gave this for you. Wu Chong, don't call me CEO Ning. Take your things and leave, Ning Qingxue said coldly. Li Mumei also sneered, Wu Chong, you traitor. Piss off. But CEO Ning, CEO Yuan is also doing this for the benefit of Fei Yu Corporation. He wants to invite you tonight. Wu Chong didn't dare answer Li Mumei and just continued talking. Before Wu Chong had finished, Ning Qingxue slammed the table and stood up, throwing the letter on the table before saying coldly to Yuan Qibing, who wasn't far away, Yuan, stop it with your lecherous acts. I'm already married, and even if I weren't, I wouldn't want a scum like you using this partnership to threaten me? So, what if your corporation gets chosen, not to mention you might not even get it? Of course, Ning Qingxue knew what Yuan Qibing was trying to do. This was the moment that the partner was going to be announced, and the time people were most anxious. Perhaps with Fei Yu Corporation's current state, she might agree to Yuan Qibing's suggestion. Yuan Qibing's use of psychology was good, but he used it on the wrong person. Ning Qingxue was cute and extremist. He didn't expect Ning Qingxue to slam the table and stand up at such an important event. This humiliated him greatly. There were almost 700 or 800 people at the scene. Ning Qingxue slamming the table caught the attention of almost everyone. Everyone was quiet and scared to annoy Luo Yu Corporation, but now Fei Yu just slammed the table. This way, no matter how good Fei Yu was, they wouldn't get chosen, especially since they were only a third-grade company. Those closer to Fei Yu subtly moved away, fearing to be thought of as companions of theirs. Seeing his daughter slam the table in anger, Ning Zhongfei also sighed. He didn't say anything, nor did he reproach her. They had very little hope anyways, and now this little bit of hope just disappeared. It was nothing. Sorry, Dad. Ning Qingxue sat down and said to Ning Zhongfei. She really detested this Yuan Qibing who kept annoying her. Ning Zhongfei smiled. There's nothing to be sorry for. Although Dad likes the pharmaceutical industry, if we can't do things here, we can do other things. Yeah, Qingxue, don't give a scum like him any face, Li Mumei added. Yuan Qibing's face went green. He didn't expect Ning Qingxue to act out like this. How could the #1 pharmaceutical CEO in China take something like this? Bitch, if I don't play you to death. I was raised by a dog. Yuan Qibing grinded his teeth. He had made up his mind to completely destroy the Feiyu Corporation. Even if their family changed to another industry, he wouldn't let them go either. Yu Miaodan looked strangely at Ning Qingxue, thinking that although her boss's wife was pretty, she had quite some character. Did she have some conflict with the Yuan Bei Corporation? Seeing Yu Miaodan walk over, Ning Zhongfei quickly stood up and said, "My apologies, CEO Yu. We interrupted everyone just then." Yu Miaodan smiled. "Mr. Ning, please have a seat. It's fine." Then Yu Miaodan turned around and said to Han Zai, "How are the results for the investigation Yang Zhou is holding? How come there is still no report?" Han Zai heard Yu Miaodan's question and quickly said, "Ninth uncle has come back, but it was because the conference is still in progress that he didn't report. Call him in." Soon, Yang Zhou came in. Yang Zhou knew what Yu Miaodan wanted and said before she asked anything, "CEO Yu, I've done the investigation. The young CEO of Yuan Bei Corporation lusts for boss's wife." After that, he went on to explain all the trouble Yuan Qibing had caused for Feiyu Corporation and how he had tried to coerce her. Slam, Yu Miaodan slammed the table in anger. No wonder Big Boss wanted Yuan Bei out completely. How dare they scheme for the boss's wife? This Yuan Qibing doesn't want to live. Out of the game? That's too easy on you. Too bad you encountered me. If I don't send your Yuan Bei Corporation to the 18th level of hell, I would have wasted all those years in the mafia. Yuan Miaodan's fierce attitude came up. When she controlled Metal River with Wu Xueming before, she had seen and heard too much. If Wu Xueming hadn't suddenly died, she would still be the big boss lady of the mafia. How dare mere Yuan Qibing be so cocky? Now that Yu Miaodan also slammed the table, this once again caught the attention of everyone. Everyone looked at Yu Miaodan strangely. Was she unhappy with what Ning Qingxue did? Or was there some other reason? Why did these pretty ladies love slamming the table? Suddenly realizing her actions, Yu Miaodan quickly said, "Excuse me, that was an accident." "Well then, now I'll read out the names of the companies who will partner with us." Suddenly realizing her actions, Yu Miaodan quickly said, "Excuse me, that was an accident." "Well then, now I'll read out the names of the companies who will partner with us." Everyone thought to themselves, accident? She clearly almost broke the table. How was that an accident? Of course, everyone only considered this internally. No one would come out to say it. Besides, the names were about to be announced, and everyone was holding their breath. Yu Miaodan cleared her throat and said, "After our critical analysis, we have selected the 3 partners for Asia, Africa, and Europe/US. Chile Corporation will be our African sector partner. They may have 5 subcontractors. As soon as Yu Miaodan's words sounded, the Chile Corporation representative stood up and clapped in joy, which soon brought everyone in the scene to applaud. America's Tua Luo Corporation will be our Euro/US partner. They may have 20 subcontractors. As Yu Miaodan read, Tua Luo Corporation was also very excited. Everyone's guess was right, because the #1 corporation didn't come. Tua Luo, who was ranked second, got the spot. After the applause died down, Yu Miaodan continued, "China's State Feiyu Corporation will be our Asian partner. They may have 20 subcontractors." Different from before, this time, the scene was dead silent. Too silent. If Yu Miaodan didn't start to clap, everyone would have thought CEO Yu had misspoken. What? How could it be Feiyu Corporation? Yeah, it should be Yuan Bei Corporation or Lianfeng Corporation. Even if it was us, it shouldn't be Feiyu. This is impossible. There was heated discussion. They didn't believe some small, unknown Feiyu Corporation could get the spot. Shock, jealousy, all sorts of emotions filled the scene. No one wanted to believe it. Though we're all still coming back to their senses. This was deemed impossible, yet became reality. Qingxue, am I dreaming? How can it be our Feiyu Corporation? Li Mumei seemed to have just woken up. Ning Qingxue was also in shock. What was going on? Ning Zhongfei was dumbfounded. Although he'd also tried, he never would have thought they would get chosen. His highest goal was to be a subcontractor. But immediately, all the companies started to come over and cheer for them. Then he realized it was real, more real than gold. There was only one sentence in his mind. The tables have turned. Finally, Qingxue, it really is our Feiyu Corporation. This is real, Li Mumei confirmed. Out of all of Asia, it was their company. After her initial joy, Ning Qingxue asked hesitantly, "Why is it like this? How can it be our company?" CEO Ning, I'm the representative for Donggu Corporation. Qian Qi, this is my name card. I'm the representative for Lianfeng Corporation. Hello, CEO Ning. Ning Zhongfei looked at the representatives rushing in at him in disbelief. His hands were sore from all the name cards he took. Yuanbei Corporation was in even greater disbelief. Even if it wasn't their corporation, it shouldn't be Feiyu. This is impossible. CEO Yu, our Yuanbei Corporation, is ranked first in Asia. Why is the spot taken by a tiny company like Feiyu? Why? Yuan Qibing looked at the boisterous scene and yelled, unable to bear the reality. Yu Miaodan said plainly, during our selection process, every company is equal. You're the first in Asia? How come I don't know? So what if you are? That is the past. There's some backdoor agreement, some dodgy deals, I don't agree. Yuan Qibing yelled in anger. He didn't notice what Yu Miaodan meant. She meant that since there was Luo Yu, other companies won't be number one. Yu Miaodan slammed the table again. Yuan Qibing, this is our Luo Yu conference. You have no right to point fingers. We don't welcome you here. Get out. What right do you have to tell me to get out? We're giving you face by coming. Don't think just because you have a little beauty pill you're anything great. We can still seal away a small company like you. My intention is that you should report this to your superiors. Some things aren't for a manager to decide. Don't lose out your company's interests like this. Yuan Qibing was so angry that he forgot about staying low to get the beauty pill recipe. The scene quieted down. No one expected to see this scene. People were immediately watching the good show. Yuan Qibing had some reason to his words. After all, Luo Yu was only a small and new corporation. How dare they fight Yuanbei? It wasn't impossible for Yuanbei to seal up Luo Yu. If the beauty pill recipe leaked, then Luo Yu would be over. Even if the recipe didn't spill, it wasn't impossible for China's biggest pharmaceutical corporation to block a newly established company. Almost everyone looked towards Yu Miaodan and wanted to see if Luo Yu would stand down. Li Mumei looked at Ning Qingxue and said, Qingxue, if CEO Yu agrees to them or feels threatened by them, what should we do? Ning Qingxue smiled and shook her head. She could tell that Yu Miaodan was no simple person. If she was so easily threatened by Yuan Qibing, then Luo Yu wouldn't let her be the head manager. Yu Miaodan sneered and said in a clear voice, from now on, Luo Yu will reject any cooperation with Yuanbei. On top of that, I will make a clear statement that any business involved with Yuanbei will not be able to cooperate with Luo Yu. If we find out, we will immediately cancel any involvement. This is the first part of the agreement for those who wish to collaborate with us. Yuan Qibing was so angry, he couldn't say anything. How could she be like that? She wasn't here to do business, but to throw her temper around. There was no such section in agreements all over the world that if Company A had conflict with Company B, then those involved with Company B would no longer be able to collaborate with Company A, even if there was the slightest involvement. All right? This was being childish. Yet this childish statement was listed as the first and foremost part of the agreement. Everyone sighed. Although this was being childish, it was also being cruel. Yuan Qibing finally met someone more ruthless than him. Yu Miaodan had always had a smile on her face, but when she attacked, she would kill. Yuan Qibing had let out tough words, but before he could even make a move, Luo Yu attacked first. People wondered what Yuan Bei would do next, and who would win eventually. Han Zai. Yu Miaodan yelled, "Here, drag out irrelevant people in this room. They are not welcomed here," Yu Miaodan said expressionlessly. Yes, Han Zai walked ferociously towards Yuan Qibing with his 1.9 m tall figure. Yuan Qibing almost spat blood in anger. He wanted to say some tough words, but was grabbed by the neck by Han Zai and dragged out like a chicken. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. Luo Yu was acting like hoodlums. This wasn't like a head manager at all. Little did they know, Yu Miaodan was the boss lady of a mafia before. Li Mumei breathed out in ease and said, "This is really satisfying. Not only are we chosen, that scum even got what he deserved. I'm uncomfortable seeing his cocky face. I admire this CEO Yu to the bones." Ning Qingxue smiled. "Let's think about this later. Before we had nothing to do, but now we have too much. We still need to recruit 20 subcontractors. This is a challenge for us." "Yeah, that's right. We haven't had such glory in a long time. This Luo Yu Corporation is really nice. By the way, what if someone like Yuan Qibing in Luo Yu also wants you?" Li Mumei questioned nervously. Ning Qingxue looked back and rolled her eyes. "You really think too much." "All right, everyone please wait. The 3 selected partners may send out representatives to have detailed negotiations." Then Yu Miaodan went into the smaller room. "All right, everyone please wait. The 3 selected partners may send out representatives to have detailed negotiations." Then Yu Miaodan went into the smaller room. Afterwards, the 3 company representatives stood up in the admiring eyes of everyone else and sent 2 people with Yu Miaodan to go in. However, Ning Zhongfei didn't go in. He let Ning Qingxue and Li Mumei go in. When the company representatives sat down, what shocked the other 2 companies was that CEO Yu of Luo Yu personally brought a chair for Ning Qingxue to sit down on. "CEO Yu, I can do this myself." Although Ning Qingxue's character didn't make her very likable, she was still shocked when this CEO Yu of Luo Yu carried a chair for her personally. Li Mumei was even more astonished. Things seemed to be a bit strange. Not only was their company chosen as a partner, but CEO Yu of Luo Yu seemed to be too polite to Ning Qingxue. Was it really what she had guessed? Li Mumei started to worry. The specifics were very simple to negotiate, as most had already been preset by Luo Yu. There weren't much problems. After seeing the strong temperament of Yu Miaodan, the other 3 companies didn't fuss over the minor errors. Compared to the profit they would be earning, this was nothing. After the negotiation, the other 2 companies left, yet Yu Miaodan had Ning Qingxue stay behind. This made Ning Qingxue feel uncertain. Was it really like what Li Mumei had said? If that was the case, she would rather not have the spot. Seeing Ning Qingxue's confusion, Yu Miaodan quickly said, "CEO Ning, it's like this. We have very sophisticated technology, and there'll be a lot of things for your company to learn, so I want our tech people to help you, and stay in your Feiyu Corporation for now." Ning Qingxue's heart sunk. It was that indeed. Was the person coming to help someone like Li Mumei had suggested? But CEO, you didn't mention anything of the sort. The person was just coming to help. Perhaps she was overthinking. Not to mention that now, if Luo Yu didn't help Feiyu, they would be closing down for sure. Thinking about this, Ning Qingxue nodded. "That's good. Thank you, CEO Yu." Yu Miaodan smiled and said, "Not a problem, CEO Ning. If you don't mind, just call me Sister Yu. I really like your name." "Of course, Sister Yu. Please take care of me." If Ning Qingxue still didn't get that Yu Miaodan was purposely trying to be nice to her, then she would be an idiot. Yu Miaodan smiled sweetly. Don't say that. Of course I will take care of you. Qingxue, you will also be helping me in the future. Then Yu Miaodan pointed to Luo Fei and said, Qingxue, she's Lu Yifei, our company's master at recognizing herbs. Yifei, Qingxue just started collaborating with us. There'll be many places they need help with. Can you go with them for a while and help them? Lu Yifei smiled and said, Of course, Qingxue, I'll be freeloading off of you from now on. Ning Qingxue quickly greeted and thought, this woman is such a beauty. Funny how she was thinking about other random things. Luo Yu was so glorious now. Why would they use underhanded means? Although Ning Qingxue thought like that, Li Mumei thought different. She thought that this CEO Yu was too nice to Qingxue. This seemed eerie. They weren't the only partner chosen, so why did the other two companies not get this treatment? This wasn't the main thing. The main thing was that CEO Yu asked to be sisters with Qingxue, and her last words were rather intriguing. CEO, you would be needing Qingxue's help in the future? What did this mean? Li Mumei, as a bystander, didn't think this was a polite thing to say. After a greeting with Lu Yifei, Ning Qingxue turned around and asked Yu Miaodan, Sister Yu, you are the big boss of Luo Yu, but there's one thing I don't understand. Our company isn't that competitive. Why did you choose to give the spot to us? Yu Miaodan was dazed and had a strange look on her face, though she quickly reacted and said, Our true boss likes your father and says your father can make big decisions. He told us to give the Asian spot to Fei Yu. Yu Miaodan wouldn't spill things since Yi Mo didn't say anything, and from what Yang Zhou said, there seems to be some misunderstanding between Ning Qingxue and Yi Mo. If she spoke of Yi Mo, perhaps Ning Qingxue would refuse to collaborate, and how would she relay this back to Yi Mo? Ning Qingxue questioned hesitantly, Sister Yu, do I need to see your big boss? Yu Miaodan quickly answered, No need, no need. Our boss will go to your company to find you. He knows your father. You just need to know that you were selected due to the relationship between our big boss and your father. There's not really much more to it other than that. Hearing that, Ning Qingxue couldn't really say anything else. She could only wait for this mysterious big boss of Luo Yu to come see her, but at last she had calmed down a little. At least she knew the reason they were chosen. When Yu Miaodan and Ning Qingxue came to the conference hall, she found her father surrounded by pharmaceutical corporate representatives. Qingxue, you go worry about your subcontractors first. I still have things to deal with here. If you need help, just ask for Lu Yifei or come find me. Yu Miaodan left behind a name card and left. Li Mumei looked at the pharmaceutical representatives and couldn't help but utter contemptuously, Not long ago, they tried to stay away from us, yet now they're surrounding us. They're really shameless. Ning Qingxue said plainly, People walk to higher places. In front of interest, face is worth nothing for most people. Sister Fei, do a lot of people go to find CEO Yu every day? Li Mumei asked. Luo Fei shook her head and said, I just joined Luo Yu. I haven't even been to Flowing Snake HQ yet, so I really don't know. You haven't even been to Flowing Snake? Then why would CEO Yu send you to help our company? Li Mumei was really confused. Luo Fei smeed, but didn't answer. Of course she knew why. CEO Yu told her that Yuan Qibing wasn't a kind-hearted person. Therefore, since Qingxue had offended him, he would try to get revenge. Luo UHQ had a mass of masters, and they weren't afraid of anyone. But Ning Qingxue didn't have anyone to protect her. If Qingxue suffered under Yuan Qibing's vindictive plans, then what would they say to Yi Mo when he came back? Because Yi Mo had said Lu Yifei was a master, Yu Miaodan discussed with Luo Fei for her to go to Fei Yu and protect Ning Qingxue. There were a lot of masters in Flowing Snake now, but most of them were men. Furthermore, Ning Qingxue was very important in Yu Miaodan's heart. So The best person to protect her was Luo Fei, because she was a woman. If the hidden sects knew that the core disciple of CI Hang Jing Temple would come to protect a normal city woman, their first reaction would be disbelief. However, Luo Fei didn't feel like that. In her eyes, her life had been saved by Yi Mo, so it was normal to protect his wife. The only problem was that she didn't know if there was anything between her little martial sister Luo Xian and Yi Mo sister Qingxue. Long time no see, a youth walked in front of Ning Qingxue and smiled. "Cousin Ning Yang, how come you're here? I didn't find you amongst them before." Ning Qingxue had a face full of joy. If there was one person she was grateful to in the Ning family, it was her cousin Ning Yang. When everyone wanted to sell her to the Song family, he had come and told her to escape. Ning Yang had even tried to help her go abroad. The reason why she could escape Beijing was this cousin's help. Although Li Mumei only told her some of it afterwards, she was really grateful to her cousin. "Brother Yang, I know. Those Ning family people want you to come for a subcontract with Qingxue, right?" Li Mumei said straightforwardly. Ning Yang nodded his head awkwardly. "Indeed, they chose me to come here. Second and fourth uncle are too embarrassed to ask your dad, so they told me to come. I really didn't want to come, but at the moment, the Ning family business is being managed by my big brother. If I don't come, it will damage my relationship with my brother. But Qingxue, don't worry. If it's fine, then perfect, but if not, then just tell me." Ning Qingxue looked hesitantly at Ning Yang. If it was his own business, she would agree without hesitation, but she didn't want to have any connections with anyone else in the Ning family. Yi Mo avoided this patrol fleet and flew tiredly for another hour or so before seeing land. After that, he knew he must have been far off from his original journey. Now, he didn't have any coordinates on him, nor could he understand a thing the people were saying there. Yi Mo avoided this patrol fleet and flew tiredly for another hour or so before seeing land. After that, he knew he must have been far off from his original journey. Now, he didn't have any coordinates on him, nor could he understand a thing the people were saying there. Yi Mo found a place with few people and landed. He'd used up a lot of chi essence and needed to recover. Perhaps he had overrushed his trip here. Yi Mo just realized that he didn't have any US dollars or any identification on him. It was very spacious here. Even though Yi Mo waited for a long time, he still didn't find anyone he could ask for directions. Just when Yi Mo was prepared to go to a place with more people, a pickup truck drove over rapidly, catching Yi Mo's attention. The pickup appeared very normal at first glance, but the 5 people in it, driver included, didn't. Everyone had a gun, and the truck had been modified. The trunk was empty. What made Yi Mo decide to follow this pickup was that there were the words, "I will get revenge," in Chinese on it. It was very small, yet still couldn't escape from Yi Mo's spirit sense. What Yi Mo found unexpected was that this car stopped at a hidden place not far from a shop. Other than the driver, all other 4 men walked into 2 different shops not far off. Yi Mo followed them and walked into one of the shops. He was going to ask how far San Francisco was from here and see what these 4 wanted to do. But as soon as he got in, a fat police officer noticed Yi Mo. He immediately looked vigilant and walked over. Yi Mo noticed this policeman and frowned. If he asked him about his origins, then he would have no choice but to attack. This officer really had nothing to do. Instead of asking those 2 suspicious black guys, he came to ask him. "Help!" At this moment, there was a sharp yell, and the fat policeman looked to the back. The 2 black men were robbing the store, and the store owner was yelling for help. He was being taken into hostage by one of the black men. The fat police officer immediately drew his gun. Yi Mo shook his head. He didn't expect them to make such a ruckus just to rob a store. If he had known this earlier, he wouldn't even have bothered following them. He saw the Chinese on the car and thought these people would know Chinese. Just when Yi Mo was about to leave, one of the black men neared him. Yi Mo immediately knew that these people were looking for hostages and stopped moving. He thought, it's good to have a free driver. As expected, the black robber controlled Yi Mo and knocked out the store owner, after which he started to look for things. What made Yi Mo confused was that they were dumping the spare change all over the place. Were these people not here for a robbery? Why didn't they want money? Soon, Yi Mo knew that these people weren't here for money. He didn't know what they were looking for, but from how they were flipping over everything, Yi Mo knew it had to be in either one of the two stores. Yi Mo saw that robust-looking store owner and realized why they took him as the hostage. It was obvious he was easy to bully. Although Yi Mo was also around 8M, he was still shaggy compared to the 9M tall store owner. Not to mention, this store owner had bulky muscles. In the distance, a police siren sounded with 2 more policemen coming for backup. There was another yell from the other store. They probably found what they wanted, and Yi Mo was brought out by the 2 black men. They chose Yi Mo and the other store owner to be hostages. They charged onto the pickup truck and started it up. There was no more space in the front, so the 2 black men dumped him along with the store owner into the modified trunk. By the time the police cars arrived, they had already disappeared. Yi Mo noticed that they had a small black case in their possession. That case was probably what they had been looking for. Yi Mo sent his spirit sense in. It turned out to be bags of cocaine. So they were drug dealers? Yi Mo immediately understood. But how did they know the drugs were hidden in the store? The pickup went very fast and merged into the traffic. Half an hour later, the vehicle drove onto some open land. The big bearded black man called out, and the car slowed down. Soon afterwards, 2 men came and dumped the store owner off the road. The other 2 were coming to throw Yi Mo away. Yi Mo grabbed the 2 instead, shattered their arteries, and dumped them outside the car. The 3 people in front heard the ensuing sound and thought Yi Mo had also been thrown out. They didn't even turn back, just going onto a small road as they continued driving the car. An hour later, the truck stopped outside a private mansion. The 2 black men and the driver came out. Yi Mo thought they really went a great distance just to commit one crime. When the bearded black man saw Yi Mo, he was stunned and immediately yelled out. Yi Mo didn't understand what these guys were saying, probably asking who he was and stuff. He just walked up and held the bearded man in the air. Take me to someone who can understand my words. The 2 black men on the side would be turning to fire. Yi Mo didn't even look and just threw 2 fireballs. Like this, they immediately turned into flying dust. The big bearded guy looked at Yi Mo, dumbfounded. He muttered something with a face full of fear. Although he didn't understand what Yi Mo said, he could guess it and pointed to the room, muttering some more. Big Beard brought Yi Mo into a sealed underground basement and opened the door. Yi Mo found that there were a few cases. Yi Mo was thinking that he was simply looking for someone who spoke Chinese. So why would this guy bring him here? Yi Mo went over to the case and opened it. It was full of dollars. There was at least 1 million in here. These robbers were really rich. Yi Mo just took this cash into his storage ring. He didn't have any US dollars right now. Hence this case of USD was perfect. The big beard saw Yi Mo turn a case of money into nothing and almost stared his eyes out. Yi Mo opened a few more cases where there were some simple firearms. Yi Mo didn't care about them, and these firearms looked really shabby. Yi Mo wasn't even interested in taking them. Just when Yi Mo was going to ask the big beard where San Francisco was, he saw a map hanging on the wall. Yi Mo looked along the sea for a long time and finally found San Francisco. He pulled Big Beard over and pointed at the floor. Where is this? Big Beard guessed what Yi Mo meant and used his finger to point at Daly City. So he was apparently at Daly City. Although it wasn't far from San Francisco, there was still some distance. Knowing his direction, Yi Mo had no intention to keep Big Beard and turned him into dust too. Afterwards, he found a clean place to cultivate for a few hours before stepping on his flying sword towards San Francisco. San Francisco and Jia Street. A figure suddenly appeared here. Yi Mo, who had just arrived. He had called over a taxi as soon as he landed. Yi Mo couldn't understand what the cabbie was saying, so he tried. I want to go to Chinatown. Okay. The cabbie gestured Yi Mo to get on. Yi Mo rejoiced. This man spoke Chinese. As if guessing his thoughts, the driver let Yi Mo know he couldn't understand Chinese. He said in a very weird tone, I know little Chinese, but Yi Mo didn't mind. All he needed was to find Chinatown, and everything would be good. Surely there were people who understood Chinese in Chinatown. An hour later, Yi Mo appeared before Mingyu Tower. Due to the time difference, by the time Yi Mo arrived, it was afternoon. Yi Mo walked into the Mingyu Tower, which was decorated in an ancient Chinese style. An old man in his 50s with glasses sat there, focused, reading a book. May I ask what you want? A young waiter in his 20s saw Yi Mo come in and asked. Yi Mo scanned the antiques on the shelves and inquired. This bracelet was sold from here, right? Yi Mo passed the bracelet to that waiter. The man took it and replied, Yeah, we sold this a few days ago. I guess is there some problem with it? Grandpa, the old man reading the book put it down and walked over. He took the bracelet and looked at it a few times before nodding. Indeed, this was sold from our place. Do you have any questions? Yi Mo smiled. I'd just like to know where it came from. The old man took off his glasses and looked troubled. It was usually taboo to ask where things came from, yet Yi Mo asked it without second thought. Yi Mo took out a stack of dollars around 10K's worth and put it on the table. Boss, this is your payment. Take it. Just from looking at the thickness of the stack, the old man knew there had to be at least 10.000 in it. One question for 10K. This young man was too rich even if he didn't seem all that well dressed. Just from looking at the thickness of the stack, the old man knew there had to be at least 10.000 in it. One question for 10K. This young man was too rich even if he didn't seem all that well dressed. I am the one who gave the bracelet to old he. Don't trouble him. If there's anything, just ask me. A deep voice sounded at the door. A middle-aged man with a scar on his Adam's apple came in. It looked like a bullet scar. Although it was blocked by his hair, Yi Mo could see it with his spirit sense. If the bullet had gone just a little more to the side, this man would be dead. He had calluses all over his hands. Yi Mo didn't know what he did for a living, but the man had some killing chi on him. It was obvious he had killed, and not just once. He was a tough guy. Yet no matter how tough he was, it was just like floating clouds in front of Yi Mo. Yi Mo said plainly, Tell me where the bracelet came from, and the money is yours. The middle-aged man sneered and took the money without a shred of hesitation before saying, A friend of mine in the U.S. asked me to sell this for him. This friend was having it tough, so he sold the only valuable possession he had. Take me to see this friend of yours, Yi Mo demanded without beating around the bush. The middle-aged man suddenly smiled. I've already told you where the bracelet came from. Sorry, but I can't help you with anything else. Then a knife suddenly appeared in his hands, and it spun like a flower. Yi Mo glanced at the knife and said again, I'll give you another 10 grand. Lead the way. The middle-aged man shook his head. I won't show you the way. There's nothing good about you finding the owner of the bracelet. San Francisco isn't a happy place, brother. Afterwards, the man sliced in the air with the knife. That's my business. You don't need to worry about me. So just lead the way. Yi Mo's tone went cold, as though not seeing the knife in the man's hands. What if I don't want to? The middle-aged man also heard the change in tone. His tone grew stiff as well. I believe you will. After saying this, Yi Mo took out a gun and pointed it at the man. Han Zixin had given him this gun. To Yi Mo, It was really useless, however it could be used to threaten people. If he needed to kill, he wouldn't use a gun. The middle-aged man stared at the pistol, and his face suddenly changed. He went silent for some time, not rebuking Emo. He packed away his knife and nodded. "Okay, I'll lead the way. But before I do, I want to talk with you alone." Emo looked strangely at the middle-aged man and thought, from the looks of this man, he doesn't seem like someone to succumb so easily. So why did he? Emo still reminded him, "There's no need for you to take out the knife you packed away, and neither will you need to take out the gun on you. Otherwise, my gun might fire accidentally. As for a talk alone, I'm not particularly interested, but since you want it, let's go." The man didn't seem to notice Emo's gun and turned to the store owner saying, "Old He, I'll borrow your room for a moment." Old He nodded and didn't talk. He picked up that book again and continued reading. It was as though nothing had happened just then. Mingyu Tower wasn't big, but it was very quiet. The middle-aged man was obviously someone who came here frequently. He just opened the door and waited for Emo to come in before closing it. Before Emo sat down, he suddenly took out a gun and at the same time shot at Emo's wrist. Emo had been threatened by many people, and he had seen many people fire. None were as fast as this man taking out a gun. It had taken less than half a second. Such a short time, such a short distance. It could be said no one would be capable of dodging this bullet, except for Emo. Emo didn't even have to dodge. The gun in his hands disappeared. What took its place was a golden bullet caught between his two fingers. The middle-aged man realized that Emo had caught his bullet with two fingers and could no longer stay indifferent like before. Emo squeezed his fingers, and this bullet turned into a V shape. Then he stared coldly at the middle-aged man and said, "This is your first and last warning. If you dare shoot again, I will turn you into a corpse. If you hadn't shot at my wrist just then, you would have already been dead." "Who the hell are you?" The man finally woke up from the extreme shock. His tone was still shaky. He had seen too many masters, but none as strong as Emo catching a bullet with his mere hands, no, a mere two fingers, and from such a short distance. And he could even bend the bullets with his fingers. This wasn't something he could comprehend. He was in extreme terror and shock. Emo pronounced coldly, "Who I am is not important. What's important is that I'm asking you, not you asking me." The man wiped the sweat from his forehead and took away the gun. He wasn't afraid of dying, rather simply shocked by Emo's power. "I'm sure Kaijen. People also call me Fly on Grass. Qian Bei, if you have anything to ask, just ask." There was respect in his eyes. Emo wouldn't even need a gun to kill him. It would take only a few seconds with nothing but his bare hands. Without a doubt, Emo was one of those legendary Chinese ancient martial artists. "I don't have anything to ask. I'm not interested in who you are either. I just need you to take me to see the owner of this bracelet," Emo said plainly. Sure, Kaijen smiled bitterly. If it was someone else who had the guts to talk to him like this, he would have slapped them already, but he didn't dare do that to Emo. He carefully made some tea for Emo before saying, "In Chinatown, San Francisco, there are many gangs. Us Chinese usually belong to Tang Gang and Hong Martial Gang. Other than these two, there's also a Vietnamese gang and some other native gangs." Emo didn't interrupt Shirkaijen. Since he was talking about these gangs, it meant that it was related to the bracelet. 20 years ago, there was a Chinese man called Peng Wenhan who illegally migrated to San Francisco. With him at the time was also a woman. However, that woman was heavily injured. At the time, there were even more gangs than now, and the U.S. government couldn't manage them all. There were fights and killings every day. In order to survive, Peng Wenhan established the Chinese gang and took in large amounts of Chinese brothers. As time went on, the Chinese gang grew big, and people in the gang called the woman Sister Yen. Hearing about this, Yi Mo had a feeling that the woman who came with Peng Hanwen might be related to him. Shi Kaijian continued. 10 years later, the Chinese gang was the definition of strength in San Francisco, and small gangs didn't even dare mess with the Chinese gang. Yet at this time, something happened to the Chinese gang. The big boss of the Southeast Asian Gang Grey Alliance, Jason, once saw the woman Peng Wenhan had brought to America and immediately wanted her. Not only did Peng Hanwen disagree, he was furious, after which the two clans clashed. The Chinese gang wasn't afraid of Grey Alliance, but due to a traitor, Peng Wenhan was assassinated and the Chinese gang splintered into pieces. Yi Mo frowned. Jason was the big boss of the Southeast Asian gang. Why would he fight with the Chinese gang over a woman? Nonetheless, a fight to the death. This wasn't as simple as it seemed. Shi Kaijian continued. After the Chinese gang splintered, Sister Yan was nowhere to be seen, but it was said that she wasn't taken by Jason. Later on, the surviving brothers of the Chinese gang established Tang Gang and Hong Marshall Gang in Chinatown. I have a friend at Hong Marshall Gang. He strongly wanted me to join them, and he wanted me to sell that bracelet. He also told me that Sister Yan once wore the bracelet. Since it's hers, why is it being sold? Yi Mo asked. Shi Kaijian shook his head. Truth is, Sister Yan wasn't welcomed by the brothers in the gang. You could argue that the Chinese gang has gone due to her. There weren't a lot of people who liked Sister Yan. Of course, the main reason is because Hong Marshall Gang is about to have a big serious clash with Mountain Gang. It's said that the Vietnamese gang will be supporting Mountain Gang. So, my friend wanted to leave. He's selling the bracelet to get some money. Where is that friend of yours? Yi Mo immediately asked. Shi Kaijian answered. He owns a house in a street in Chinatown. Although I know the approximate location, I don't know where exactly. But if Qian Bei wants to see him, it's very simple. I can arrange to meet him tomorrow. Yi Mo sneered. I want to see him now. Take me there immediately. Shi Kaijian looked at Yi Mo in shock. How could we do that? If we go to Hong Marshall Gang's HQ now, wouldn't that be dash? Shi Kaijian looked at Yi Mo in shock. How could we do that? If we go to Hong Marshall Gang's HQ now, wouldn't that be dash? As though realizing his tone wasn't right, Shi Kaijian quickly said, Qian Bei, I know you're very strong, the strongest I have seen actually, but you can't take on that many. More than that, there are a lot of masters in Hong Marshall Gang. I heard there are some ancient martial arts cultivators, and their weapons are the advanced ones from the U.S. mob. If you go alone, you might. Yi Mo smiled plainly. You don't need to worry. You just have to take me there. Shi Kaijian looked at the V-shaped bullet Yi Mo had dumped on the ground and picked it up. Then he bit his teeth. Okay, I'll go with Qian Bei. Men die with their dick facing up. It's my honor to meet a master like Qian Bei. Yi Mo looked at Shi Kaijian and said, You just need to bring me near there. There's no need for you to go in yourself. Shi Kaijian shook his head and disagreed. No, to be honest, I've never seen someone as powerful as Qian Bei. I respect you from the bottom of my heart, and I want to go in of my own will. Although my power is nothing compared to Qian Bei, I'm still pretty good in the Chinatown circle. I just wish to follow Qian Bei. If I can learn a move or two, it will be my biggest fortune. This Shi Kaijian had some good eyes, but Yi Mo didn't intend to bring him. He said honestly, I came here to do a couple of things, and after I'm done, I will leave the U.S. However, Shi Kaijian replied, if Qian Bei is willing to take me with you, I'm willing to leave the States. I have no one here. I've been staying to get revenge, but it's been more than 10 years. My enemies have only gotten stronger and stronger. I have no expectations anymore. If possible, I just wish to follow Qian Bei for some time. So he wanted revenge. The reason he was risking death to follow him was to learn martial arts to get revenge. This Shi Kaijian was very decisive and didn't seem to be someone cruel. It would be fine to take him in. Although Shi Kaijian thought it was a fight for life going to Hong martial gang with Yi Mo, but to Yi Mo, it was just a casual stroll. Taking this into consideration, Yi Mo nodded. In that case, enter together with me. Now lead the way. The old man with the glasses downstairs looked on in shock as Shi Kaijian walked out with Yi Mo. He knew Shi Kaijian brought Yi Mo up to bash him up, yet now he came out like a good little boy. Hong martial gang was renowned throughout Chinatown, although their fame wasn't as high as the Chinese gangs from before. Amidst the forest of gangs, there was a clear place for Hong martial gang. Qingyang Street. Hong-style 7-Kill Fist Dojo was here. The reason why Shi Kaijian knew the whereabouts of the Hong martial gang's HQ was because he knew this dojo was where things happened. The dojo was open to students, but little did they know this dojo was related to the Hong martial gang. Shi Kaijian only knew because his friend was in the Hong martial gang. Under his lead, Yi Mo soon arrived at the Hong-style 7-Kill Fist dojo. However, he was stopped at the door. Yi Mo scanned his spirit sense in and saw people practicing martial arts. This is Hong-style 7-Kill Fist. Please stop. If you want to sign up, come back a month later. It was a Chinese person as well guarding at the door. It was also Shi Kaijian's first time here. Usually his friend would come looking for him instead, and he wouldn't come here because if he did, he might be investigated. If it wasn't due to special reasons, Shi Kaijian wouldn't want to be remembered by the gangs. Qianbei, you can probably find a lead here. Shi Kaijian turned around and said to Yi Mo. Yi Mo smiled. Brother Shi, you're older than me. You don't need to call me Qianbei. My surname is Yi. Shi Kaijian said joyfully. In that case, Brother Yi, I won't be too polite. Still, since I'm following you, I'll just call you Brother Yi. Shi Kaijian wasn't dumb. If he wanted to learn from Yi Mo, he needed to understand his position. Yi Mo didn't mind how Shi Kaijian referred to him. He just told that guard, simply tell them someone is here to challenge the dojo. Get your dojo leader here or else dash. You want to fucking die. This man didn't even report and just punched at Yi Mo's face. Yi Mo didn't seem to see the fist and just kicked out. His leg arrived first, and the guard was kicked flying away and smashed into a vase that was around human height. The vase shattered. Shi Kaijian shook his head, and his rating of Hong martial gang lowered. It wasn't because the guard couldn't take a single kick from Yi Mo, but because the guard shouldn't have attacked first, no matter whether he could beat Yi Mo or not. Since Yi Mo said he came to challenge the dojo, he should stay calm and report back. The reason being that if the person who came was very strong, what the guard did might create a strong enemy for Hong martial gang. Who are you? Why are you causing trouble at our Hong-style 7-Kill Fist dojo? Seeing the fight at the door, a sturdy-looking dark-faced man walked over. He didn't attack first, but saluted with his fist and asked, My big brother wanted to see the dojo leader, but this guard didn't let us and attacked first. That's why my big brother taught him a lesson, Shi Kaijian said. The black-faced man then noticed Shi Kaijian behind Yi Mo and asked confusedly, You are Fly on Grass, right? Since when did our dojo have a feud with your big brother? Shi Kaijian didn't know the black-faced man, but it was normal for him to be recognized. He had some reputation in Chinatown after all. Anyway, he smiled and stated, I never said we have a feud with your dojo. It's just that my big brother wants to see your dojo leader, but the guard didn't let us. The man's face sunk. Fly on Grass. Our dojo doesn't want to cause trouble, but that doesn't mean we're scared of you. If everyone who came could see our dojo leader, then he wouldn't need to do anything, but just seeing people all the time. Yi Mo's spirit sense had already found someone looking at the situation, so he sneered, Don't talk bullshit. If you don't call your dojo leader here, I will tear this dojo to the ground. Yi Mo's words touched the bottom line of the black-faced man, who tucked his shirt in contemptuously and said, In that case, Wang Jun, will test you out. Yi Mo shook his head and insulted, You haven't even touched the door. to martial arts. You don't have to fight me. I only need one more kick to break another vase. This Wang Jun wasn't even yellow level. He was at most a normal martial artist. Yi Mo really wasn't interested. Hearing Yi Mo's words, Wang Jun's face turned red in fury. Although he wasn't the strongest in Hong-style 7-kill fist dojo, he could definitely rank in the top 10. And this guy who seemed younger than him said he could kick him away with one leg to any position he chose. He wouldn't believe it no matter what. He just felt this person was too cocky. Even the dojo leader couldn't kick him away with one leg. Although Wang Jun was angry, he wasn't careless. Since this person said that, it meant he had some degree of power. He took his stance and spun his fist in a flower, smashing towards Yi Mo with fist winds. Wang Jun used his strongest move as soon as he attacked. He didn't underestimate Yi Mo at all. This punch had been modified from Muay Thai. It carried the name Waving Hook Fist. Wang Jun had beaten many masters with this move. If not for that, he wouldn't be an instructor for the dojo. Yi Mo didn't even move. When Wang Jun's fist came in front of him, he suddenly took a step forward and kicked. Wang Jun saw that Yi Mo dared come closer and rejoiced. But before his brain could even process it, he was kicked in the chest by Yi Mo. His fist had clearly reached Yi Mo, yet for some reason it didn't even touch Yi Mo's clothes. After that, Wang Jun felt a huge force to his chest. Wang Jun's heart sunk. It was over. As expected, Wang Jun seemed to have grown eyes behind his back as he smashed into the remaining vase, completely shattering it. The entire dojo went silent. The students had stopped because the guard was beaten up, but after Wang Jun came to talk with Yi Mo, all those students had gathered around. They didn't expect the clash to be just one kick, and their martial arts instructor to be sent flying exactly to where Yi Mo had pointed out before. "Nice moves, friend," a deep voice sounded. At the same time, a man in gray robes walked out. He had a smile on his face, as though not minding Yi Mo kicking over 2 vases and 2 people, but genuinely complimenting Yi Mo's power. "Nice moves, friend," a deep voice sounded. At the same time, a man in gray robes walked out. He had a smile on his face, as though not minding Yi Mo kicking over 2 vases and 2 people, but genuinely complimenting Yi Mo's power. Yi Mo had known this man was hiding in the back, and looking at his calm demeanor, his status must be quite high in this dojo. Yellow level middle stage, a martial artist. But in Yi Mo's eyes, this meant nothing. Dojo leader. The black-faced man's injuries weren't serious, and seeing this gray-clothed man walk out, he crawled up with a face full of awkwardness. "Please excuse the dojo for our impoliteness. I'm the dojo leader of Hong-style 7-kill fist Shinweiju. May I ask what your name is?" The gray-clothed man didn't seem to see the black-faced instructor, and just walked out saying to Yi Mo, "No need for names." "I came here today to ask some things," Yi Mo said plainly, as he really didn't like the style of this dojo leader. When he first came, he was watching from the side. Even after he kicked the guard, he still didn't move. Only when he kicked this black-faced instructor did he finally walk out. He probably couldn't stay calm any longer. Hearing Yi Mo's words, Shen Weiju's face changed, but it soon returned to normal. In Jianghu, it was extremely rude to not say your name after one says they have won. Even with Shen Weiju's scheming heart, he almost couldn't take it. But he wasn't a noob who had just entered Jianghu. The angrier he was, the more he would intend on killing the person. Yet the kinder he would act. Before understanding who the enemy was, he wouldn't attack easily. Just then, he had also seen Yi Mo's kicks. He didn't have such power. Although it was easy for him to beat that instructor too, he couldn't do it as comfortably as Yi Mo, also deciding the direction of his fall. Shen Weiju still said with an unflinching face and saluted with his fist, "In that case, please come in, friend." Shi Kai-jen knew Shen Weiju. He was very famous in Chinatown, and was even more famous in the gang world. At this moment, Shi Kaijian saw that Yi Mo didn't even show any politeness to this man and felt nervous. Usually, those who lived in Jiang who would leave 30% respect when they talked, unless it was a real-life and death feud. He didn't know whether Yi Mo was too young or something, but apparently he didn't care about Shen Weiju at all. Of course, Yi Mo didn't care about Shen Weiju at all. He hated all this deep scheming yet acting generous. Shen Weiju was a mere yellow-level warrior. But so what? Even if he rose 10 levels higher and reached great heaven, Yi Mo still wouldn't care. Although Shen Weiju was extremely mad, he didn't show it at all. He brought Yi Mo and Shi Kaijian into the guest lounge. Four bulky men stood outside. He thought Yi Mo was going to say something, but Yi Mo acted as though he didn't see them at all and just walked in. Shen Weiju's plan fell into water. These four were the strongest in the dojo. Shen Weiju thought that if Yi Mo was going to say something, he would tell Yi Mo that that was the rule of the dojo. According to Yi Mo's personality, there would then be a fight. Shen Weiju was sure that with the help of those four, he would be able to subjugate Yi Mo. But Yi Mo just walked straight in. Was he really strong to that extent? Shen Weiju felt a little lost. He wouldn't do things he wasn't confident about, so thinking for a long time, Shen Weiju ultimately decided to not attack first. He wanted to see what this person was going to ask for. The tea was sent up and Shen Weiju smiled, asking, "Friend, what would you like to ask about?" "Dojo leader Shen, my big brother wants to ask Tong Zhu some things, but we can't find him at the moment. Can you please tell us where he is?" Shi Kaijian asked. Shen Weiju frowned. It's not like he didn't know Tong Zhu, but Tong Zhu's identity was special, and he rarely showed himself in front of the Hong martial gang brothers. Since these two came looking in this place, it meant that they knew the Hong-style 7-kill fist dojo was related to Hong martial gang. Thinking about this, Shen Weiju saluted with his fist and said apologetically, "Sorry, friend. I know Tong Zhu indeed, but he can't see you now. He won't be able to come out and meet you for some time. This concerns an internal matter of Hong martial gang, so please forgive me, friend." Shi Kaijian immediately stood up. "What do you mean? I know your Hong martial gang is about to clash with Mountain Gang, but that doesn't mean I can't see Tong Zhu." Shen Weiju might have some patience for Yi Mo, but for Shi Kaijian, he had none. He had been in a high position for a long time. Since when did a little thing from the streets dare talk to him like this? Shen Weiju said coldly to Shi Kaijian, "Hong martial gang's business isn't something you can stick your nose in. Fly on grass. Although you have some fame in Chinatown, that is nothing in the face of Hong martial gang. Seeing how we're all from China, I'll let it go." Yi Mo stood up and said plainly, "Shen Weiju, I'll give you 1 minute. Take me to see Tong Zhu. If not, there will no longer be a Hong martial gang in Chinatown from now on." How cocky! Shen Weiju, want to see how you're going to annihilate our Hong martial gang today. Faced with Yi Mo's aggressive ordering about, Shen Weiju finally couldn't take it anymore. Before he could call his men inside, Yi Mo walked up rapidly, grabbed Shen Weiju by the neck and flung him up like a chicken before saying slowly, "You don't get to decide whether I can or cannot annihilate your gang." Shen Weiju was shocked inside. He clearly saw Yi Mo walk up and grab his neck, but he simply couldn't dodge it. He was a yellow-level middle-stage martial artist. He wasn't that mere guard or that black-faced instructor. Yet in this young man's hands, he seemed no more than that guard. Shen Weiju's face finally changed. He now understood who he had offended. This person might be the legendary Earth-level warrior. If he really was Earth-level, although there would be some difficulty in annihilating the Hong martial gang, it wouldn't be impossible. The four men at the door saw what was happening inside and charged in without a second thought. Yi Mo just raised his leg and kicked. The front most bulky man was immediately sent flying. He crashed right into the second man, and the second man crashed into the third, until they all stacked together. Shen Weiju was frozen. He didn't even dare guess who Yi Mo was. Funny how he had still been thinking before that the five of them could subjugate Yi Mo and take at least one of his arms or legs. Now, he realized how ridiculous that thought had been. Shen Weiju wanted to say some soft, submissive words, but his neck was grabbed by Yi Mo before he could spit out a single word. Shi Kaijian rejoiced at the scene. To him, the stronger Yi Mo was, the more right his decision would seem. Shen Weiju had such a great reputation, yet in Yi Mo's hands he was like a little chicken, utterly defenseless. Yi Mo casually tossed him aside and said plainly, "1 minute. Take me to see Tong Zhu. Otherwise, next time I say I will annihilate your gang, I won't go back on my words." Cough, cough, Shen Weiju managed to catch his breath and quickly stood up. He bowed deeply to Yi Mo. "Qian Bei, I was blind to not see Mount Tai. Please forgive me. I'll immediately take Qian Bei to see Tong Zhu. Please, this way." Then, Shen Weiju carefully lead the way in front. He no longer had any of those little plans of his. Those schemes had been established based on the idea that their difference in power wasn't too great. Now it was clear that Yi Mo could squash him like an ant. Hence, any shenanigans would be useless. Shen Weiju brought Yi Mo and Shi Kaijian through the back door, and after going left and right a few times, they went into an ancient-styled house. The door was tightly closed. Shen Weiju walked to the front and pressed the doorbell. Yi Mo noticed there was a rhythm to the doorbell pressing. It seemed to be their secret code. Yi Mo scanned his spirit sense inside. The old house was very spacious and had a patch of grass as well as an artificial lake. It was quite nice to have such a place in a busy city. In a certain underground room, Yi Mo could see a few guards. When Yi Mo sent his spirit sense in, he saw 60 people gathered together, seemingly discussing something. It was obvious that Shen Weiju's alarm frequency gave them a warning. The man holding the meeting just waved his hand, and the 60 people went to stand, to two sides. Since he was visiting, Yi Mo wasn't planning on breaking his way in. Soon, someone came to open the door. Shen Weiju brought Yi Mo in. Everyone in the underground basement looked at Yi Mo and Shi Kaijian with vigilance. No one spoke, but Shi Kaijian was very nervous. He knew that the man at the front only needed to wave, and these tens of people would gang up on them. If it was just a few people, or even a bit more than 10, Shi Kaijian wouldn't be afraid. But if tens of people attacked them together, then no matter how strong Yi Mo was, he wouldn't be able to deal with all of them. If he was shot sneakily by a bullet, then everything would be over. If it was just a few people, or even a bit more than 10, Shi Kaijian wouldn't be afraid. But if tens of people attacked them together, then no matter how strong Yi Mo was, he wouldn't be able to deal with all of them. If he was shot sneakily by a bullet, then everything would be over. Furthermore, this was the HQ of Hong Martial Gang. The place was full of masters. There were probably many who were stronger than Shen Weiju. Also, who knew if there were hidden traps in this house. Shi Kaijian stood nervously by Yi Mo's side. Shen Weiju just walked to the leader, who was a little skinny, and muttered something. After hearing what Shen Weiju said, the man nodded and frowned. Then he said plainly, "An honorable guest has come. Please have a seat. Someone bring 2 chairs for these 2 friends." Yi Mo sat down calmly, but Shi Kaijian first glanced uneasily at Yi Mo, and only then did he also calm down. He had been in this place all these years, living on the brink of death. How could he still be so worried? At the same time, he admired Yi Mo's courage. "Friend, you have strong will. I'm Zhu Hongsheng, and as the brothers honor me, I'm the substitute gang leader. May I ask for your name?" The leader man saw Yi Mo sit down calmly and showed approval in his eyes. From what he saw, Yi Mo didn't even care about life and death. Although he was sure that Yi Mo was at least yellow level peak or even black level, he would still die here without doubt. because he himself was already black level middle stage and surpassed Peng Hanwen of the Chinese gang. Furthermore, he had at least 3 yellow level fighters, including Shin Weiju. Even if Yi Mo had black level power, he would be dead for sure. My surname is Yi. I am sorry for disturbing you. I'm wondering if your honored gang has someone called Tong Zhu? Yi Mo said monotonously. This Zhu Hongsheng was quite polite, so he didn't have to be overly oppressive. Even though Yi Mo didn't say his full name, Zhu Hongsheng approved of someone like Yi Mo and didn't mind it too much. Someone who could beat Shin Weiju was no ordinary person. He was someone who would go on to do big things. Thus his eyesight wasn't on the same level as his henchmen. If he could take this person into the Hong Martial Gang, that would be a big help. He had created the Hong Martial Gang and wasn't a simple person. According to him, Zhu Yuanzhang, the founding emperor of the Ming dynasty, was his ancestor. That's why the gang he had created had strict rules. Although Yi Mo didn't seem like a very enthusiastic person, he didn't require his henchmen to be enthusiastic. He needed them to be capable and loyal. He believed that this young man would serve him after seeing his power. After all, his only other choice would be death. Tong Zhu come out. Zhu Hongsheng didn't even think and called out to Tong Zhu. A short man stood out from the group and bowed to Zhu Hongsheng first before walking to Shi Kaijian and saying, Fei, what's wrong? Zhu Zi, there's nothing wrong. Brother Yi here is my big brother right now, and he has some things he wants to ask you about. Trust me, it's fine, so you can just reply honestly, Shi Kaijian reassured. He admired Yi Mo a lot right now. Tong Zhu nodded. Obviously, he was quite close to Shi Kaijian. He saluted Yi Mo with his fist and said, Brother Yi, what's wrong? I'll tell you everything I know. Yi Mo nodded, putting the bracelet on the table, and asked, You sold this bracelet recently, but where did you get it from? The moment he saw the bracelet, his face changed, but he immediately answered, A year ago, our gang had a clash with the Vietnamese gang. At the time, I hacked a Vietnamese guy apart and robbed this from him. Yi Mo continued, In that case, do you know any history about this bracelet? Shi Kaijian intervened. Zhu Zi, say everything you can say. Brother Yi won't do anything to you. He was afraid his brother would hide something and annoy Yi Mo. Tong Zhu nodded. I don't know, but we have this certain older brother in the Hong Martial Gang. He was a brother of the Chinese gang before, and had a picture of Sister Yen, which he showed to me. Sister Yen had a bracelet, and it was the exact same as the one I got. I wasn't sure, but when I gave it to Fei, I told him this might be Sister Yan's bracelet. So that's it? Yi Mo nodded and looked around before asking, In that case, who has the picture? Take it out. Zhu Hongsheng didn't expect Yi Mo to start asking about Sister Yen. He looked at the bracelet and wanted to say something, but eventually didn't. Yi Mo didn't ask him, but asked his gang instead. This made him a little uncomfortable, but he wanted to take Yi Mo in, so he had to resist it. A man in his 50s walked up. He looked very ferocious and approached Zhu Hongsheng first, declaring, Gang leader, I have the picture. Zhu Hongsheng nodded and said, Luo Xian, our friend Yi has something to ask. Go ahead and answer him. Yes, Luo Xian nodded and walked in front of Yi Mo. You have Sister Yan's picture? How did you get it? Yi Mo asked in a normal manner. Luo Xian could also tell Yi Mo wasn't simple, so he answered carefully. Before gang leader Hanwen was harmed, he told me to go to the photography shop to get this picture for Sister Yen. But by the time I came back, the Chinese gang had already clashed with the Grey Alliance, and gang leader had also been harmed by then. I didn't know where Sister Yen had gone, so I kept this photo with me. Could you give me this photo? Yi Mo stood up and asked. Of course, and since gang leader Hanwen was always good to me, as long as you're related to Sister Yen, I can give you this photo, Luo Xian said. Yi Mo nodded. Indeed, I am related to Sister Yen. Luo Xian didn't ask what their relationship was and just said, "In that case, please wait, and I'll go back to get the photo." Then Luo Xian asked Zhu Hongsheng and got the nod. Afterwards, he turned to leave. After Luo Xian went out, Zhu Hongsheng just wanted to speak up when a member of the gang ran in a hurry and informed gang leader 3 Breaths Flying Dagger Johnson of Grey Alliance is here with around 30 people. Zhu Hongsheng suddenly stood up. Why did he come? What's he doing here? How does he know about this place? His tone was rapid, and he was obviously worried. Yi Mo shook his head. He saw that this Zhu Hongsheng had some temperament, yet was unable to keep his cool upon meeting his opponent. And this was his turf. What Yi Mo didn't know, however, was that 3 Breaths Flying Dagger Johnson was a complete counter to Zhu Hongsheng. Although he hadn't cultivated ancient martial arts, his power was strong and no lesser than Zhu Hongsheng's. On top of that, he had a specialty, namely the 3 Breaths Flying Dagger. If he wanted to kill someone with a flying dagger, anyone would die within 3 breaths after the shot. Therefore, the people of the Chinatown gangs gave him the title of 3 Breaths Flying Dagger. He stood at the very top in Chinatown, and together with this other black man called Jack, who was also in the Grey Alliance, they were called the Spear Dagger Duo. Zhu Hongsheng had no confidence when it came to Johnson, and at their power level, numbers no longer mattered that much. The most important thing was that this HQ was very hidden. Other than the Hong martial gang members, rarely anyone knew about it. The reason why Zhu Hongsheng was so polite to Yi Mo was because Yi Mo was strong, and because he wanted to recruit him. Otherwise, he wouldn't let Yi Mo act so cocky in his dojo. If Yi Mo rejected his offer, he wouldn't be that easy to talk to. Gang leader, we haven't been out these 2 days, and the day after tomorrow, we have the clash with Mountain Gang. How could the Grey Alliance know our HQ? An average-looking girl beside Zhu Hongsheng asked. Zhu Hongsheng frowned. He thought for a while and shook his head. I don't know either. We'll see after they come in. Although their Grey Alliance is doing well, our gang is no pushover. Yi Mo heard Zhu Hongsheng's words and scanned, using his spirit sense. 26 men had arrived, each of them very bulky, with the majority of them black, while the minority was white, and a small part of them was Asian. Yi Mo immediately thought of the 5 black people he had killed and scanned his body just to be sure. Soon, Yi Mo's face turned bad. He didn't expect to be tricked. That big-bearded man had stuffed a seed-sized signal source, and he hadn't even realized. No matter how weak they were, he shouldn't have been careless and needed to stay vigilant at all times. Although he didn't fear these people, this still rang an alarm bell. For Yi Mo, he had been too careless recently and wasn't as cautious as before. Seeing Yi Mo remove a seed-sized thing from his clothes, Zhu Hongsheng immediately realized that this young man had offended the Grey Alliance and had a tracker planned on him. Seeing Yi Mo remove a seed-sized thing from his clothes, Zhu Hongsheng immediately realized that this young man had offended the Grey Alliance and had a tracker planned on him. Zhu Hongsheng's expression turned very bad. If Johnson weren't here, he would have attacked Yi Mo already. So it was this guy who exposed his hideout. He no longer wanted to recruit Yi Mo that much. Although he was capable when it came to fighting, his brain wasn't that agile. Yi Mo's face wasn't good either. The thing had been small but very sticky. When he chalked the big bearded fella, he didn't realize he was actually calm enough to put a tracker on him. Yi Mo ripped at it, and the tracker turned to nothing. At this moment, a tall, white man walked into the underground room, which wasn't small. Despite there being 60 or so people in here, it didn't seem squishy. When Johnson came in and saw Yi Mo, he was sure it was him even though the tracker had disappeared. He didn't expect there to be this many people here. Nonetheless, his shocked face quickly went calm. Jordan and those 5 Grey Alliance members were killed by you? Lucian was also killed by you? You also took our things? This Johnson knew how to speak Chinese and was much better at it than that driver. Anyone could see the anger on his face. Yemo smiled. Yes, I killed them. I also burned your crate of cocaine, and I found a case full of cash. Shi Kai-jen hadn't imagined at all that Yemo would also have offended the Gray Alliance. He had never heard about anyone offending the Gray Alliance, and still being able to live. That might have been the case before, but what about now? Just when everyone thought Johnson was going to rampage, Johnson turned to Zhu Hongsheng and said, Mr. Zhu, he has a death feud with the Gray Alliance. What is his relationship with you? Zhu Hongsheng immediately wanted to say he wasn't related to Yemo. They were going to fight the Mountain Gang now. He didn't want to offend the Gray Alliance at this critical moment. However, Zhu Hongsheng was stopped by that average-looking woman. For the first time, this woman spoke of her own accord. This person called Yi as a friend of our gang. If your Gray Alliance wants to attack him on our land, that is the same as mocking us. Even if you have any feud with this friend, please deal with it after leaving our place. Both Zhu Hongsheng and Yemo were shocked. Yemo imagined that Zhu Hongsheng would cast away any connections to him, and he could confirm this from Zhu Hongsheng's expression, but this woman said otherwise. Did she realize something? This woman wasn't simple. No matter whether she had realized anything, Yemo felt that this woman was much more calculating than Zhu Hongsheng. It was a no-brainer to say such a thing at this situation. The only result of those words was to make Yemo have some good impression towards them. After all, she didn't say they would protect Yemo. Humph. I can agree to not kill him here, but we must take him away. Johnson raised his hand, and a flying dagger suddenly appeared in his hand. No one could see where he took it from other than Yemo. No, you can't take him by force. You can only allow him to walk out freely. As for what you do after he walks out, that's up to you, the woman continued. Johnson sneered. Do you think we're scared of your Hong Marshal gang? You're a mere woman. Are you the gang leader or something? Gang leader Hong, what is your will? Be straightforward. Zhu Hongsheng was troubled. From the bottom of his heart, he didn't agree with her words, but he didn't know how to answer. However, the woman continued. Of course, I'm not the gang leader. If I was, I would state that Mr. Yi is someone our gang protects and that no one can touch him. Hearing this, Zhu Hongsheng was shocked. He looked at Yemo, who was still very calm. To be honest, ever since it was discovered that Yemo had been tracked, he had blacklisted Yemo as someone he must kill. He didn't understand why Huang Zheng, who had always been very cunning, would make such a huge mistake for someone so young. For the first time, Zhu Hongsheng rebuked Huang Zheng's words and said to Johnson, This person has nothing to do with our gang, Johnson. Do as you wish. We won't interfere. This felt like succumbing, but Yemo was someone he was going to kill anyway. So now, he was just letting Johnson do it. Huang Zheng stood up and looked deeply at Zhu Hongsheng before saying, I'm a bit tired. I want to go rest. Zhu Hongsheng thought Huang Zheng didn't want to see blood, or wasn't too happy because of him rejecting her proposal, and didn't mind. He waved his hand. Go take a break, and think before you speak next time. After Huang Zheng walked out, Johnson threw around the flying dagger in his hand and spoke in fluent Chinese. A Chinese person taught me how to use this, and it has drunk the blood of countless Chinese. Today, there will be one more. Where is the one who taught you the flying dagger? Yemo asked calmly. Him? Ha ha ha. The first to die to my flying dagger was that guy. Where do you think he went? Perhaps you can meet him before God. Then Johnson waved his hand, and the flying dagger disappeared. No one could see where it was. Yemo caught the flying dagger and spoke coldly. If you hadn't killed the one who taught you, I would have. Luckily, you saved me some trouble. But with your petty moves, you dare play with flying daggers in front of me? Even if Johnson hadn't killed his master, Yemo wouldn't be bored enough to go kill this person, but as someone who couldn't see the character of his disciple, he deserved to die. Johnson was dumbfounded. He clearly saw Yi Mo catch the dagger he just threw out with 2 fingers. Someone could catch his flying dagger with bare hands? His brain couldn't process this reality. His flying dagger was far faster than a bullet. He could even use it to take down bullets. Yet today, someone caught his flying daggers with his bare hands. This was unfathomable. Everyone was shocked. Johnson's dagger was definitely faster than a bullet. If someone could catch it, did that mean bullets could no longer threaten that person? Zhu Hongxing's heart skipped a beat. He understood that he had made a mistake today. You have the guts to play with flying daggers. Huh? Your daddy will teach you how to properly play with flying daggers today. Look, your father will pin you to the ground. Protect your left foot. After these words, the flying dagger pierced straight into Johnson's left foot into the ground in a beautiful arc until even the hilt was touching his foot. Argh! Johnson howled and wanted to raise his foot, but he couldn't move it at all. He was really pinned to the ground by a small dagger, not to mention it was his own dagger. He clearly saw Yi Mo throw it, but he just couldn't move. Silence. The entire meeting hall was silent. The 3-breath flying sword was pinned to the ground by his own flying dagger. One could read the terror on his face. Zhu Hongxing felt his hands shaking. He was sure that if Yi Mo were to throw that at his throat, he wouldn't be able to dodge it. A few breaths later, Johnson's men finally realized what had happened to their boss and pulled out their guns and swords. Yi Mo sneered, and a long sword appeared in his hand. After a round of clattering, Yi Mo charged into this group of people. To be exact, Yi Mo just walked amongst them and walked out. By the time the others had reacted, Yi Mo was already standing at where he had stood before. The long sword disappeared from his hand, and it was as though he never moved. At this moment, everyone started to see the people around Johnson begin to fall and spew out blood. Other than Johnson, everyone from the Gray Alliance who had come were dead. Zhu Hongxing looked at Yi Mo dumbly. If the ground weren't covered in bodies, he would think he'd seen things wrong. Zhu Hongxing looked at Yi Mo dumbly. If the ground weren't covered in bodies, he would think he'd seen things wrong. Zhu Hongxing had seen many masters in his life, and he had even believed he was at the apex. Yet now he realized that he hadn't even passed through the doors to mastery. And this young man, he was the real master. Perhaps he was no longer even merely a master. He wasn't a normal human being who could possibly cultivate ancient martial arts to such a degree. A quick stroll, and more than 20 Gray Alliance members died. Such means, thinking about this, Zhu Hongxing didn't dare let his mind wander anymore. Cold sweat ran down his back. He hadn't come here out of bravery. He had simply never considered them a threat. If this man wanted to annihilate the Hong martial gang, he would at most need to take a stroll between them. Zhu Hongxing's back sweated more and more. It was drenching his clothes, but he lacked the courage to move and could only stare at Yi Mo in shock. He regretted so much that he had rejected Huang Zheng's proposal, a chance to be on good terms with this youth. Huang Zheng, he didn't listen to her one time and lost out big. Shi Kai-Jen looked at the bloody scene. His eyes didn't contain fear, but excitement instead. He had made the right decision. Brother Yi was this powerful. He was shaking with excitement, as though his bright future was already here. Yi Qianbei dash. After a long while, Zhu Hongxing stood up shakily. He no longer dared think about recruiting this person. What a joke! Yi Mo looked coldly at Zhu Hongxing and said plainly, "Tell me everything about Sister Yan's disappearance. Do not leave out a word." Just when Zhu Hongxing wanted to speak, Luo Xian rushed in and saw this eerie scene. There were more than 20 bodies on the ground, and an old white man stood stupefied amongst them. He saw his brothers were also in shock, but after noticing that the gang leader seemed to be unharmed, he finally rested easy a bit. Although the scene was bloody, he had been in this industry for 30 years already and seen all sorts of blood and gore. Johnson? Luo Xin almost screamed. He didn't expect the one to be standing in the middle of the bloody scene to be one of the spear-sword duo of Grey Alliance. Luo Xin was old and cunning. He looked at Yi Mo, who remained there with an extremely calm demeanor, and immediately guessed the scene was related to Yi Mo. He instantaneously took out the photo and passed it to Yi Mo. "Mr. Yi, this is the photo you asked for." Yi Mo nodded and passed a few stacks of cash. "This is your payment." "Thank you." "Huh?" Luo Xin looked at the stack in shock. There was at least 40 to 50K in there. Yi Mo smiled. "This is what you deserve." "Then, thank you very much, Mr. Yi." Luo Xin accepted the money. He was short on cash anyways. Yi Mo took the photo. On it was a seemingly very quiet and well-educated woman. She was in her 30s, and her brows were like a crescent moon. However, there was a sliver of worry in her brows, making her seem melancholic. Zhu Hongsheng could only wait after being interrupted by Luo Xin. Now that Yi Mo put the photo away and looked over, he immediately said, "When the Chinese gang was suddenly attacked by the Grey Alliance and Big Brother Peng was harmed, he sent a brother from the gang to protect Sister Yen before his death. After Sister Yen had disappeared, I found out that that brother had been killed. Ever since, Sister Yen remains nowhere to be seen." Yi Mo scanned the Hong martial gang members and questioned slowly, "Who else knows about what happened before? Come forward." No one came forward. Yi Mo sighed. It seemed that Sister Yen really wasn't liked in the Chinese gang. If she was, then there wouldn't be no one looking for her. Thinking about this, Yi Mo no longer wanted to stay here and said to Shi Kaijian, "Let's go." "Brother Yi, where are we going now?" Shi Kaijian quickly asked. "Of course to Grey Alliance." "I want to see if that old guy called Jason is dead," Yi Mo said coldly. Little did Jason know that he and his Grey Alliance had been sentenced to death by Yi Mo. Yi Mo reached out his hand, and the dagger that was pinning Johnson appeared in it. Johnson was mobile again, but he no longer had the arrogance of when he had come. He just stared at Yi Mo with a pale face, and was even shaking. He had never seen a real master ever since he'd graduated. The people who everyone thought of as strong had all been killed by him, including his master. But now he realized how pitiful his view had been. In front of Yi Mo, he was worse than trash. Yi Qianbei, Wanbei Johnson wishes to be Qianbei's disciple. "I will stay loyal forever and be master's dog," he said, which took everyone by surprise. However, one must say this old white man's Chinese was perfect, yet his face couldn't get any thicker. Other people thought Johnson was shameless, but he didn't think so himself. According to his impression, Chinese loved face, so if you gave them just that, everything would be easy. They would even be able to endure a tougher life in order to gift you things. Johnson had studied some Chinese history and knew that there was an emperor in China called Yang Guang. As long as those foreigners called him living for 10,000s of years, he would give them treasures. The emperors after him were also like that. Johnson was sure Yi Mo would take him in as a disciple, because kneeling down was the most respectful thing one could do for a Chinese. Yi Mo shook his head. This was the first time he had seen someone as shameless as Johnson. He didn't even spare a second thought and flung out a wind blade. Johnson's hand was sliced off. "I will count to 3. If you don't take me to Grey Alliance, you will lose your second arm," Yi Mo said coldly, and started counting. Johnson froze. Things didn't go as planned. This man didn't care about his respect and couldn't even be bothered to answer. His arm was cut off, but there was little blood flowing out. Before the number 3 had been reached, Johnson crawled up. "No, no, no. Qianbei, please stop counting. I will bring you over." In his desperation, Johnson used both English and Chinese and quickly went outside. Shi Kaijian said to Tong Zhu at the door, Zhu Zi, if you want to leave with me, I can beg Brother Yi to bring you along. He and Tong Zhu were like blood brothers in Chinatown. Tong Zhu admired Shirkaigan's luck and saw Yimo's power with his own eyes. Why wouldn't he be willing? He immediately nodded and said, I am willing. Yi Mo didn't wait for Shirkaigan to speak and said, in that case, let's go. Tong Zhu looked back at Zhu Hongsheng. Zhu Hongsheng immediately said, since Yi Qianbei has spoken, then go with him. Seeing Yi Mo and company leave, Zhu Hongsheng's face immediately went bleak. He didn't expect to meet someone this absurd today. If one day that Yi Gai didn't like him, he could be killed at any time. Big brother, that Yi Qianbei said, he would be going to Gray Alliance. Wouldn't that mean the biggest gang in San Francisco is about to disappear? Does this mean the chance for other gangs has arrived? A henchman immediately saw the situation and grasped the focal point. Zhu Hongsheng became excited after hearing that. Yeah, that Yi Gai is going to look for trouble at Gray Alliance. Thinking about this, Zhu Hongsheng immediately ordered, notify Huang Zheng and tell her there are important things to discuss. A henchman quickly went to get Huang Zheng, but soon after he ran back in and spoke worriedly to Zhu Hongsheng. Sister Zheng is gone. She just took some simple luggage with her and left San Francisco. As for where she's headed, we don't know yet. A henchman quickly went to get Huang Zheng, but soon after he ran back in and spoke worriedly to Zhu Hongsheng. Sister Zheng is gone. She just took some simple luggage with her and left San Francisco. As for where she's headed, we don't know yet. What? Huang Zheng left? Zhu Hongsheng suddenly stood up and uttered in disbelief. After a long moment, he slumped back down into his chair. Brother Sheng, Sister Zheng didn't leave that long ago. If we hurry to the airport, can't we stop her? Some underling asked. Zhu Hongsheng shook his head. I know her character. If she wants to leave, then we won't be able to stop her. Sigh. It was really my fault this time. I let a perfect opportunity slip through my fingers. There was one other point that Zhu Hongsheng didn't mention. The biggest thing he lost this time wasn't this chance, but Huang Zheng's support. Never before this moment had he realized how important Huang Zheng was to him. This woman looked average, but she had a cunning heart. Now that he thought about it, the reason Hong Marshall Gang had its current position today was greatly due to Huang Zheng's planning. At the same time, at the conference in Beijing, Ning Qingxue was hesitant-faced with her cousin's request. She really didn't want the Ning Family Corporation to join as a subcontractor, but it was her cousin who was asking. Seeing Ning Qingxue's hesitation, Li Mumei said, Brother Yang, I honestly understand what Qingxue is feeling right now. This is really difficult for her. Even I don't want the Ning family business to join as a subcontractor under Feiyu Corporation. Ning Yang nodded and said, Okay, I will relay this to Big Brother. I don't blame Qingxue. They went over the line in the past. They didn't even think about Qingxue's happiness for the rest of her life. Sigh. Ning Qingxue nodded. Cousin, if you ever don't like staying in the Ning family, then come to our Feiyu Corporation. There will always be a spot for you here. Seeing Ning Yang leave, Li Mumei looked at the representatives for the Ning Family Corporation and sneered contemptuously. Qingxue, the Ning family shouldn't need to come beg you for a subsidiary position with their ability. They probably sent Ning Yang here to recover your relationship with the Ning family. Ning Qingxue nodded. She could guess that the Ning family had such intentions but didn't see it as clearly as Li Mumei. Mumei, I want to go to Ning Hai. Can I leave things here to you and Dad? Ning Qingxue suddenly thought of Yi Mo, and she wanted to go after Mumei told her what had happened between her and Yi Mo. However, she got delayed due to the conference. She wanted to go to Ning Hai and ask Su Wei and Su Jingwen some questions. Qingxue, you can go. The rest of the procedure is very easy. I can do it with Mumei. Sometimes it's good to not leave any regrets. Not everything your mom said is correct. Just do what you want to do. Ning Zhongfei walked over. he could feel the changes in his daughter and didn't feel supportive of Lan Yu's words anymore. Ning Qingxue nodded and said, Dad, CEO, you said that you are close with Luo Yu's big boss, which is why we got the spot. Do you know their big boss? Ning Zhongfei shook his head with confusion. I don't. If I did, then we would never have been in such a predicament. Uncle, that CEO you of Luo, you really said that we were chosen because their big boss ordered it so. How could you not know him? Li Mumei interrupted. Ning Zhongfei was dazed. There was something like that? I don't know their big boss. By the way, did you ask what their big boss's name was? I did, but CEO, you just answered mysteriously that the big boss would come over to our company. So, she didn't say. By the way, Qingxue, I feel that CEO, you gives you special treatment. Not like business partners, but more like a higher-up. Li Mumei still mentioned the worry in her heart. Ning Zhongfei hummed for a moment and nodded. Mumei holds some reason to her words. Qingxue has such beauty. It's normal for people to like her, but since it's already done, why did the big boss use my name? Could it be him? No, he's too young. Dad, who are you talking about? Ning Qingxue immediately asked. Ning Zhongfei replied, It's the young man I met yesterday. I gave him a bracelet too. Mumei said he was a fraud, and I haven't seen him here indeed. I also thought he must have been a fraud, but other than him, I don't think there's anyone else to suspect. Uncle, did that person also say he had a pharmaceutical company? Li Mumei asked. Ning Zhongfei nodded. He said that the bracelet was related to him, hence I gave it to him. Then he invited me to coffee and said he was going to the conference looking for partners. Hold on. Li Mumei interrupted. What's wrong? Ning Zhongfei asked in confusion. Uncle, repeat that last bit you just said, Li Mumei suddenly said. Ning Zhongfei repeated. He said that he was also coming for the conference looking for partners and was encouraging me to go as well. And he said he knew yes, that part. In the morning I thought Uncle said it wrong, or that the guy was bullshitting. But now, it seems that he is the big boss of Luo Yu. People came to the conference to become partnered, yet he came to the conference to look for partners. Doesn't this mean he represents Luo Yu? Li Mumei said. Yeah, I had been wondering as well. Why would he make a wording error like that? So he was the big boss of Luo Yu. He's so young. Mumei said he was a fraud, and I was a bit doubtful. He didn't seem like a fraud. I'm really honored to have met him. Ning Zhongfei was full of happiness. Ning Qingxue shook her head and said, Dad, I don't feel this is right. You just met that young man and gave him a bracelet thanking him for the encouragement, but he's the big boss of a company. How can he give you the partnership over something like that? A successful big boss of an entrepreneurship shouldn't mix private with professional. Li Mumei nodded. This is also what I want to say. Qingxue, you need to be careful. It might have something to do with you. Ning Zhongfei said slowly, no matter what, if Qingxue is going to be harmed, I would rather not have this spot. Ning Qingxue said, let's not talk about that. Everything will show in time. Lu Yifei is about to come to our company. Mumei, just ask her more questions. I want to go to Ninghai once, but I may be back soon. Ning Qingxue wanted to know why she had loved GMO as much as Li Mumei put it. It felt unbelievable to her, but she knew that Li Mumei wouldn't lie to her. Also, if what Li Mumei said was false, her mother wouldn't try to stop her from remembering the past so much. Although hearing about it seemed absurd, in the depth of her heart, she actually felt like Li Mumei was right. Li Mumei said that Yi Mo had changed from that waste of a human being. Ning Qingxue investigated a bit, and that house in Ninghai did indeed belong to her. Just as Li Mumei said, she had bought this house after marrying Yi Mo. Coming back to the house in Ninghai, Ning Qingxue took out the keys Li Mumei gave her and opened the door. The backyard looked barren and not taken care of. All the flowers in the pot had died. and only a small stalk of grass still stood in the middle with a bent stem, as though clinging to life. When Ning Qingxue saw the grass, she felt her heart ache again. Qingxue felt lost. She went near the flower pot. She subconsciously wanted to pat the almost dead grass, and suddenly felt some joy, as though that grass was recounting past happenings to her. The middle of the grass was silver, but there appeared to be a small mark of blood on it. Ning Qingshue's first impression of this grass was that it was surprisingly spiritual. She had been feeling true joy ever since seeing that grass. It sounded very absurd, but it was really happening. Ning Qingshue's first impression of this grass was that it was surprisingly spiritual. She had been feeling true joy ever since seeing that grass. It sounded very absurd, but it was really happening. This was just a normal silver heartgrass. Although it was a spirit herb, it shouldn't be able to create resonance. What Ning Qingxue didn't know was that it was different from the normal silver heartgrass. It had been washed with her blood. When absorbing spirit qi, even now, there was still a red line visible in the middle of the grass. Ning Qingxue took the water she had been drinking and watered the grass. The grass seemed to have gotten some life force. Ning Qingxue stood up and went inside. The eastern room was half closed, as though someone had been there before. Ning Qingxue walked into the room. It was very tidy, but there was some dust on the tea table. The most conspicuous thing was the small medical case on the bedstand. Ning Qingxue walked over and opened the medical case. There were some receipts inside, some bottles and a packet of silver needles, as well as some spare change. It also contained Yi Mo's identity and bank card. The things inside were very strange, making Ning Qingxue frown in confusion. Mumei said that this case had been very important to her. Was it because of these things? She closed the case and walked out of the room. It seemed that Su Wei had moved away already. This was the first time Ning Qingxue was actively trying to remember things. She cleaned the house and was prepared to stay here. From Mumei's words, it would seem the memories she lost were very important to her. Without anything concerning the company to worry about, Ning Qingxue seemed to have found tranquility living by herself in Ninghai. She suddenly felt like this was the life she wanted. Today was the second day Ning Qingxue was living here. At this moment, she was standing by the flower pot, watering the silver heartgrass, when a knock was heard. Ning Qingxue opened the door, and a very clean and nice-looking woman stood by the door. She seemed to have seen this woman before, but couldn't remember who she was. Qingxue, you're back. I thought it was Yi Mo. Su Jingwen looked at Ning Qingxue with joy and surprise. She had to say, this Ning Qingxue was getting more and more beautiful. Her unique temperament wasn't something that could be learnt. You are? Ning Qingxue still couldn't remember who Su Jingwen was. Such an excellent girl. She should have some impression, at least, if she did know her. Was she part of her lost memories? Su Jingwen just remembered what Li Mumei had told her and couldn't help but feel bad. She knew Ning Qingxue had lost some memories, and she happened to be a part of them. Qingxue, I'm Su Jingwen. Su Jingwen was thinking of some way for Ning Qingxue to remember her. She came to see if Yi Mo had come back, but didn't expect to see Ning Qingxue. Ning Qingxue smiled apologetically. Sorry, Jingwen. I lost some memories, but Mumei has mentioned you. Come in. On the stone table in the backyard, Ning Qingxue made some tea for Su Jingwen and said, Jingwen, you know about what happened to me, right? Mumei probably told you. I wanted to come see Su Wei, but she has left already. I was planning to go find you too, because I wish to retrieve those lost memories, but have no way to do so. Ning Qingxue's tone seemed very bland, but Su Jingwen could make out something more, perhaps a little anxiety. Do you want to ask me about you and Yi Mo? Su Jingwen asked. Ning Qingxue nodded. MHM. I heard Mumei say that you're friends with Yi Mo, so Su Jingwen looked down and spoke slowly. Although I think of him as a friend, we don't actually see each other that much. Anyway, it was my birthday back then, and Mume, and you were there. I had also invited Yemo, and from Mume I heard that that was the first time you guys met each other. Su Jingwen told everything she knew about Yemo and Ning Qingxue. Ning Qingxue listened to all of this and looked at Su Jingwen in shock. If it weren't because Su Jingwen looked like an honest person, she would have thought these words were all lies. According to her, not only had there been a necklace that could protect her, but also charms that could shoot fireballs. She had even asked Su Jingwen how to use them once and gone out looking for Yi Mo by herself. Su Jingwen said that she had been putting her life on the line that time. You're saying that your bracelet was given to you by Yi Mo through me, and it also has defensive properties? This. Ning Qingxue looked speechlessly at the pretty bracelet in Su Jingwen's hands. She did find it very pretty, but she really didn't dare believe that. Su Jingwen nodded and said, "Yes, every word I have said was true." Ning Qingxue rubbed her head. Su Jingwen looked up at the flower pot and suddenly said, "The last time when Yemo came, he also sat in front of that grass for a long time." Ning Qingxue didn't really understand Su Jingwen's words and didn't know where to begin asking. My mother had been lying on a bed as a vegetable for a few years, and it was his spirit-cleansing charm that saved her. At the time, the person I was thankful to the most was him, but I didn't know he was Yi Mo. Later on, I realized that he was the charm master. On my birthday, he gave me this most precious gift, but I didn't cherish it properly. Now, there are only 2 beads left on it, Su Jingwen said, as if to herself. Then she looked up at Ning Qingxue and continued, "I came here today to see if Yi Mo had returned. Seeing you was a surprise. There's no need for you to doubt my words. Try hitting my wrist with a stick." Ning Qingxue subconsciously took a stick and knocked it lightly at Su Jingwen's wrist. Asking hesitantly, I knocked it, but there seems to be no effect. Su Jingwen also looked at the bracelet in confusion, thinking it was impossible. The other time, the coarse bracelet Yi Mo gave her had defensive abilities. So how could this exquisite one not have any? Looking at Ning Qingxue's increasingly suspicious gaze, Su Jingwen bit her teeth and said, "You have to use force. Perhaps only then would there be an effect." Ning Qingxue shook her head and put down the stick. "No matter what, I'm grateful to you, but I'd rather not try. If I use force, your wrist will break." Su Jingwen saw that Ning Qingxue was doubting her words and didn't even think before using the stick to smash down on her wrist. She didn't believe the bracelet Yi Mo gave her could be fake, because Ning Qingxue was the one to bring it to her. She hadn't worn it, but after meeting Yi Mo with him telling her to wear it, how could it be fake? If it was, then she would be too disappointed in Yi Mo. He should at least tell her. It was because she didn't believe Yi Mo would trick her that she masochistically smashed her wrist. She had this unexplainable sense of certainty. She believed in this feeling and at the same time trusted Yi Mo. It was because she had been hesitant last time that she had given 3 beads to Ning Qingxue. It was then that she made up her mind not to completely believe what others say. She had to do things based on her own feelings and perception. If she believed that Yi Mo wouldn't lie to her, then she should smash down on her wrist. "Ah!" Ning Qingxue screamed. She didn't expect Su Jingwen to be this cruel to herself. She couldn't even stop her. Pung! The stick didn't hit Su Jingwen like Ning Qingxue expected, instead bouncing off and flying away into the distance from Su Jingwen's hand. Ning Qingxue looked at Su Jingwen's wrist in shock. It was perfect. She was sure that Su Jingwen wasn't faking things because she really saw a white light from the bracelet instantly flick the stick away. "It's real." After a long while, Ning Qingxue sighed. Su Jingwen looked at the wooden stick and said slowly, "I knew he wouldn't trick me." Hearing Su Jingwen's words, Ning Qingxue felt a somewhat strange feeling that she couldn't explain. She admired Su Jingwen's bracelet. I didn't think such magical artifacts really existed. I thought those magic artifact shops were fake. Su Jingwen shook her head and said, "You're correct. Even though those shops aren't completely fake, they wouldn't have bracelets like mine. Only he in this entire world can make this, no one else." Then Su Jingwen looked a little dejectedly at Ning Qingxue and continued, "You don't need to envy me. The best defensive artifact is on you. It's the necklace you're wearing at the moment." "What? You're saying this necklace of mine is a defensive artifact?" Ning Qingxue pulled out the necklace and asked in surprise. "What? You're saying this necklace of mine is a defensive artifact?" Ning Qingxue pulled out the necklace and asked in shock. "What? You're saying this necklace of mine is a defensive artifact?" Ning Qingxue pulled out the necklace and asked in shock. Su Jingwen nodded. "Perhaps it's not only a defensive magical artifact, but also capable of calming your mind, like my bracelet. I don't even get colds anymore. I think seeing how Yi Mo loves you so much, something he gave you wouldn't be ordinary." "You're saying that Yi Mo gave me my necklace?" Ning Qingxue finally understood where her necklace came from, but this only made her more confused. Master Wu Guang said that a qianbei of his had made this. Wu Guang was in his 70s. How could his qianbei be Yi Mo? Su Jingwen sunk into silence. She knew that Ning Qingxue had lost part of her memories, but don't people usually retain their most important memories? How come she didn't have any impression of Yi Mo at all? Although she didn't like how Ning Qingxue had forgotten everything, Su Jingwen still replied, seeing Ning Qingxue stare at her. "Yes, you yourself said it. And I knew that Yi Mo cared about you a lot from your own words at the time." So Ning Qingxue suddenly stood up. She walked in front of the wooden stick and gave it to Su Jingwen, ordering, "Jingwen, hit my face." Su Jingwen took the stick and shook her head. "Qingxue, you don't understand what a defensive artifact is. Even though you wear it on your neck, it wouldn't just protect your upper body." "Okay, whatever, just hit me," Ning Qingxue nodded. She still didn't understand why she was doing this. Perhaps she didn't want Su Jingwen to beat her in trust. Su Jingwen took the stick without hesitation and smacked towards Ning Qingxue's arm. Before it could touch Ning Qingxue's arm, it was blocked by a veil of light which flicked away the wooden stick. "It's true." Ning Qingxue caressed her necklace, and everything seemed to have been explained. When she just woke up, the necklace was a bit faint in color, and it took some time for it to recover its gloss. This meant the necklace could self-repair. Then, according to Li Mumei, the reason she didn't get injured seriously after the car crash was this necklace. She wondered if it was due to the necklace that she managed to wake up. Su Jingwen looked at Ning Qingxue, who was in shock and felt a little down. Although there was only her and Ning Qingxue here, she felt like she was redundant. She stood up and said, "Qingxue, I'll be going back." "Huh?" Ning Qingxue came back to reality and quickly said, "Thank you, Jingwen. How about I treat you to dinner tonight?" Su Jingwen shook her head. "Don't worry about it. Maybe next time. I'm a bit tired today." Ning Qingxue nodded. "Okay, come visit often. Sometimes it gets really boring living here by myself. I really admire your courage smacking down on your arm like that." Su Jingwen smiled. "Okay, I'll come by frequently." After which, Su Jingwen walked to the door. Yet she suddenly turned around. "In fact, it doesn't really have anything to do with courage. I trust him. That's why I did it." Su Jingwen was long gone when Ning Qingxue was still standing in the yard. The last words Su Jingwen had uttered kept ringing in her mind. Ning Qingxue murmured, "All right, I'd really like to know what sort of person you would be in my mind if I hadn't lost my memories." Could a mere month really change the impression I had built up of you over the course of many years? How come I didn't divorce you after having finished using you? How could I disregard my own life to look for you? Would such love happen to me? Before Ning Qingxue could close the door, another girl came from outside, and she looked no less pretty than Su Jinwen. Ning Qingxue looked at the girl and felt very strange. Did she come for Yi Mo as well? Why were all these people who looked for Yi Mo women, beautiful women at that? Who are you? Tang Beiwei and Ning Qingxue asked the exact same questions simultaneously. Tang Beiwei had been waiting for her brother at Serenity for more than half a year, but Yi Mo still wasn't back. She missed her brother. After all, he was all she had left in this world. Thus she came to find Yi Mo. But when she revisited this small house in Ninghai, there was no Su Wei nor her brother. She instead saw an absurdly gorgeous woman who was even prettier than her. This made Tang Beiwei confused. I'm Ning Qingxue. Who are you looking for? Ning Qingxue broke the silence. Tang Beiwei smiled. Oh, it's sister-in-law Qingxue. I am Tang Beiwei. Yi Mo is my brother. Oh, then come in and take a seat. This girl proclaimed she was the sister of Yi Mo, but wasn't surnamed Yi. She knew about Yi Ling, but she had never heard that Yi Mo had another sister. After knowing that Su Wei moved away, Tang Beiwei was disappointed. Still, in order to wait for her brother to come back, she chose to live here for the time being. Ning Qingxue didn't ask why Tang Beiwei called Yi Mo brother. Sometimes things shouldn't be asked. She was sure Tang Beiwei wasn't Yi Mo's sister. Why make things awkward? She didn't feel that to the bone love for Yi Mo. So, no matter how many pretty women came looking for Yi Mo, she would only be surprised and not angry. The both of them didn't talk much, and it became apparent that there was nothing to be said after a few sentences. Tang Beiwei realized a little while later that this sister-in-law Qingxue knew almost nothing about her brother. She felt like her brother deserved more than that, although she knew what had happened to Qingxue from her brother. How could she forget him so completely? This meant that she was a heartless woman. She wouldn't let someone like that marry her brother no matter what. Johnson brought Yi Mo to the door of Hong Marshal Gang. Yi Mo looked back at Shi Kaijian and Tong Zhu and said, "You two don't need to come. Just wait for me at Mingyu Tower. I'll be back soon." Johnson brought Yi Mo to the door of Hong Marshal Gang. Yi Mo looked back at Shi Kaijian and Tong Zhu and said, "You two don't need to come. Just wait for me at Mingyu Tower. I'll be back soon." Johnson looked at the 8 cars parked outside. Only he had come back out with a lost arm at that. He had a feeling that as soon as he brings this Chinese guy to the gray aliens, he wouldn't be far from death. But he knew that if he didn't, he would die now. He didn't harbor any hopes for someone to save him from this demon. Seeing Johnson doubt, Yi Mo said coldly, "If you hesitate for another second, I will make you disappear immediately. I don't believe that I won't find anyone to bring me to your nest." And dash. No, I'll drive now. Johnson didn't think of it as just a threat at all. He knew Yi Mo would really kill him. Although with only one hand, Johnson drove very quickly. An hour later, the car was parked outside a private manor. Yi Mo didn't need to go in to notice that the HQ of Grey Alliance was much more pompous than Hong Marshal Gang's. Even though his spirit sense had a radius of 200 meters, he could still only see but a corner of this manor. Yi Mo retrieved his spirit sense and noticed that the door was open. A small black waiter ran over and bowed to them speaking English. "Qian Bei, Jason is waiting for you. He will lead the way." Johnson knew that Yi Mo didn't understand, so he quickly translated. Yi Mo considered something and sneered. That Zhu Hongsheng had big dreams but little wisdom. Yi Mo had launched a massacre in Hong Marshal Gang, and the only survivor was in his hands. Nevertheless, the Grey Alliance immediately knew There was no way there was no traitor amongst the gang members. Hong Marshall Gang would be gone under his leadership sooner or later. Walking in, Yi Mo realized what it meant to be grandiose. For instance, there was a huge swimming pool. In fact, there were multiple of them. There were also bamboo patches and a football field as well as a golf course. America was a magical place. A mob boss could have such wealth and even live so comfortably. Witnessing this place, Yi Mo couldn't help but admire America's way. Private property must be respected. Jason had been in the mafia for so long, there was no way the U.S. government had no evidence of his crimes. Since he was still living freely, it meant he had his ways. The three of them walked a few hundred meters further, and an oval-shaped building became visible. Yi Mo sent his spirit sense in. The oval building resembled a gymnasium, yet was much smaller. The inside was intriguingly decorated. It looked like the bottom of a frying pan, and there were only seats at 20 meters and above. There was a slanted surface for around 20 or so meters. This surface was made of smooth metal and even seemed to be flickering with electricity. Yi Mo could imagine it already. They wanted him to go in and be captured immediately. Such an evil method, even great heaven masters wouldn't be able to escape. Yi Mo suspected that it was completely metal, and that as soon as you stood on it, they would electrocute you. Nearby, there were a few cages. Other than a lion, they also contained 2 leopards and a tiger. Yi Mo was sure that this building hadn't been built just for him. He didn't know why Jason had such a construct, but since he had come already, he wouldn't fear it now. Not to mention, he was chi gathering stage for now. He wouldn't be scared of a mere electric house. Yi Mo scanned his spirit sense, and the flying sword appeared beneath his feet, carrying Yi Mo into the house while he was followed by Johnson. As soon as they went inside, the big door leading to the outside rumbled as it fell down to the ground and shut the entrance. The thing was, Yi Mo had already noticed that when Johnson first came in, he was nervous and seemed to be waiting for something. As expected, as soon as Johnson had entered, he rushed to one corner of the construct and started slamming his foot there. Yi Mo watched on coldly. He figured there must be some sort of trap mechanism that could save Johnson. However, he stepped on it for a long time, yet there was no reaction. Johnson had portrayed a sliver of hope on his face before, but it immediately turned into fear as he yelled, "John, you bring our enemies to our door, and even lost your throwing arm for the flying knives. Did you really think you'd still get to live?" A cold voice sounded from the top. Yi Mo scanned this person right away. The voice's owner was in his 60s, but apparently he kept his look very well, as he looked less than 50. Yi Mo knew this person had to be Jason. Jason's Chinese was far less fluent than Johnson's. He looked expressionlessly at Yi Mo and Spole. "They say you're very strong. I heard those 20 people couldn't even last a few minutes in your hands. So today, I'll dedicate my gladiator pan for you to have a taste." Jason's pronunciation was pretty inaccurate, but Yi Mo could guess what he meant. Jason clearly also knew his Chinese was bad. Hence he ordered the short man beside him, "Explain it to Mr. Yi." That short man quickly informed, "This construct is meant for people we don't like in order to fight beasts. You will be fighting beasts in the cage soon. Only by killing them can you live a little longer. We'll be watching until you die. You might be very strong, but no one dares to fight me. Those who have are all dead." Regardless of who they were or what their status was, Jason's tone was very confident. Jason then looked at Yi Mo and shook his head. "You Chinese are too full of yourselves. You actually came to my place all by yourself. That Zhu Hongsheng is the same. He doesn't know that it would only take a few moments for me to destroy him. I even know how many women he sleeps with each night. He's a far cry from Peng Hanwen from all those years ago. And even Peng Hanwen I annihilated without using my full power." Yi Mo's face remained calmness itself. After Jason was done, He asked plainly, "Why did you destroy the Chinese gang before? Also, do you know where Sister Yen is at?" Jason laughed. "You have a lot of questions for someone who's about to die, but I like your personality. Me starting a war with another gang over a woman, Peng Hanwen's brain. Must be dead to think that. As for that Sister Yen, I'll tell you, I just saw her profile from afar. I never knew how she looked, and I still don't know." Then, Jason spoke contemptuously to Yi Mo. "Okay, the game begins now." As expected, Yi Mo knew his guess would be right. Jason didn't start a war with the Chinese gang over Sister Yen. It was for some other reason. Perhaps he wanted to consume the Chinese gang. Yi Mo's spirit sense scanned the short man's face and saw him have a strange expression, something like regret and longing. Yi Mo thought and asked again, "Before the game starts, I have another question to ask." Jason took out a remote controller and pointed at Yi Mo. "Seeing how you're about to give me a fascinating show, I'll allow you to ask one more question." "Okay, who is the guy helping you translate?" Yi Mo pointed at the short man. Jason laughingly answered, "My advisor. He came from the Chinese gang. Su Ren, you must be that guy who betrayed the Chinese gang before, right?" Yi Mo's tone was full of killing intent. Su Ren's face changed. Although some people had guessed before that he was the person who had betrayed the Chinese gang, those people were dead now. Besides, he'd been staying inside and keeping a low profile recently. Even then, this guy could guess his identity. Jason laughed bleakly and pressed down on the controller. A few of the metal cages opened, and the starved lion, leopard, and tiger rushed out, charging towards Yi Mo and Johnson. Jason laughed bleakly and pressed down on the controller. A few of the metal cages opened, and the starved lion, leopard, and tiger rushed out, charging towards Yi Mo and Johnson. Jason saw Yi Mo whip the leopard away with one kick and yelled, "Open fire and break that Chinese man's leg." Around 100 people fired simultaneously, all focusing on the same spot. There were sparks all over, yet Yi Mo was nowhere to be seen. At this moment, Yi Mo jumped up to where the people were standing and incapacitated their meridians with rapid speed before throwing them down below. Yi Mo was very fast. After running one circle, he had thrown the 100 or so people down onto the fighting ring. Only then did Jason react. He immediately realized that this guy was far more powerful than he had expected. This gladiator ring couldn't trap him at all. Howls of pain sounded in the gladiator ring, mixed with the roaring of beasts, making people shiver. The only thought in Jason's head was to leave this place as soon as possible. Su Ren was faster than him, but as soon as the two stood up, they saw Yi Mo standing in front of them. "Mr. Yi?" Jason wanted to say something, but he didn't know what to say. The reason he could live so well until today was because he never exposed himself to danger. Today, however, even though he thought he had prepared for everything, he had miscalculated. This man has exceeded the limits of humans, who could jump 20 meters high and throw his men into the gladiator ring in such a short time. If he got another chance, he would rather abandon his beautiful manor and leave as far as he could, rather than face Yi Mo. This person wasn't a human. He was the devil. "You're Jason?" Yi Mo looked at this man who had reigned over San Francisco all these years. He didn't expect he would be so scared facing death head-on. Yes, good sir. I have a lot of money. I'll give it all to you, as long as you have mercy on me. "Oh, where is your money?" Yi Mo asked candidly. If there was a lot of cash, he didn't mind taking some. He was short on money anyway. Jason saw that Yi Mo was interested in his money and immediately became excited. He ordered Su Ren hurriedly, quickly explained to Mr. Yi. Su Ren raised his pale face and said slowly, "Jason's money is all in stocks. He owns 6 companies and 5 shopping malls. These things can't be turned into money straight away. They need to be sold. But if Jason suddenly sells these things, the FBI will investigate. This way, not only would you not get the money, but it will also cause you trouble. So why are you putting it like that? Jason could tell that Suo Ren wasn't helping him talk, and was instead saying that his money couldn't be taken now. If it couldn't, what use was he then? Yi Emo looked at Jason and questioned. In other words, you have no money right now. I do. I still have 50 million in my bank account. Jason no longer dared let Suo Ren help him translate. Yi Emo took out his card and gave it to Jason. Transfer all your money to me as fast as possible. Otherwise, you'll see I don't have much patience. Okay, but after I do that, Jason asked hesitantly. As long as Yi Emo agreed to let him go, he would do anything. Yi Emo declared coldly, "Don't challenge my patience. I don't have so much time that I can wait for you. If you don't want to, fine by me. I'll just toss you down." I'll do it. Jason didn't dare say anything more. He took out his phone and started making transactions. Just looking at the bloodbath down there shook his mind. Those gang members couldn't crawl up and were being torn apart by the beasts. Suo Ren looked at Jason, who was rushing to make the transaction. There was ridicule on his pale face. He knew that even if Jason made the transaction, Yi Emo wouldn't let him go. He could already see the sharp killing intent in Yi Emo's eyes. But in the depth of his heart, he was also shocked. He had witnessed many masters, but it was the first time he met someone of Yi Emo's caliber. He saw with his own eyes how Yi Emo flew up. That moment, he at first thought he had seen wrongly. If it had been someone else, he would have thought of many ways to run. But in front of Yi Emo, he felt helpless. This young man was too scary. He could tell he was the traitor of the Chinese gang from tens of meters away. "It is done." Jason handed the card back to Yi Emo in a fawning manner. Yi Emo took the card and said to Jason, "Since it's done, you can go down now." "No. How can you not dash?" Jason was kicked down amidst the bloody bodies by Yi Emo. He still couldn't understand, even at the moment of his death. Johnson had told him about the character of Chinese, and being in contact with Chinese people all these years, it had been confirmed indeed. Usually, as long as he appeared subdued and respectful to Chinese people, they would be soft, and when he gave them everything he could, they would let him go. But the reality now was exactly the opposite. He only had one thought of regret. Why on earth did he build this gladiator ring? He never would have thought that he would be fighting the beasts in here one day, being the owner of the ring. Suo Ren lacked the resolve to look at the bloody scene, and tried his best to think of a way to live. Yi Emo looked plainly at him and said, "You're a smart guy. Tell me how you betrayed the Chinese gang and where Sister Yan is." Suo Ren shuddered and hesitated for a long time. "I just want to live." Yi Emo uttered frigidly, "You don't have the right to argue with me. I can make you talk even if you don't want to. You're worth less than an ant in my eyes. You are the Yi Emo who annihilated Earth Fiend, aren't you?" Suo Ren suddenly asked something completely irrelevant. Yi Emo said plainly, "I am. You're indeed clever, and even know about this. But even so, what of it? So it's you indeed. I should have known earlier. I'm such an idiot, such an idiot." Suo Ren murmured for a long time and still didn't reply to Yi Emo's question. Yi Emo sneered. "Since you don't want to talk, then don't blame me." "Hold up." Suo Ren suddenly raised his hand calmly. Seeing Yi Emo wait, Suo Ren started talking. "The moment I lay my eyes on Sister Yan, I realized that she was the woman of my dreams. So I joined the Chinese gang without further thought. For more than 10 years, I did everything for the Chinese gang without hesitation. All for Sister Yan. If things had just continued like that, perhaps nothing would have happened. But one day, I really couldn't bear with the longing for her. I confessed to her." Suo Ren stopped as though reminiscing on past memories. Then he shook his head before continuing. What I hadn't expected, however, was that the gang leader Peng Hanwen would hear it. He used the 3 knives and 6 holes torture on me without hesitation, saying that I shouldn't have dared harass Sister Yen. I knew that Sister Yen was the gang leader's goddess. No one was allowed to get close to her. Having said that much, Suo Ren pulled up his pants to show 6 scars on his leg. That torture made me lose all hope for the Chinese gang. I betrayed the gang and sided with the Grey Alliance, helping them scheme. My only demand was for Jason to give Sister Yen to me. There was longing and a sliver of madness in Suo Ren's eyes. But afterwards I couldn't find Sister Yen. I don't know where she went. Although I suspect that Sister Yen was killed by Jason, I have no evidence at all. Ever since, I've been living my life in pain. Not because I betrayed the Chinese gang, but because I brought harm to Sister Yen. Then he went silent. What reason could Jason have to kill Sister Yen? Yi Mo asked. Suo Ren answered dejectedly. I suspect Jason wanted me to settle and scheme for the Grey Alliance without any distraction. Of course, this is only my guess. Yi Mo looked coldly at Suo Ren. Since you can't provide better info, you can go down and accompany your boss. Thus Yi Mo grabbed Suo Ren and was going to fling him down. Suo Ren quickly screamed, Yi Mo, you can't kill me, dash. Yi Mo looked coldly at Suo Ren. Why can't I kill you? Yi Mo looked coldly at Suo Ren. Why can't I kill you? Suo Ren quickly said, your mother-in-law is in my hands now. If you kill me, your mother-in-law will be dead for sure. Yi Mo frowned. Although he was sure that there couldn't be such a coincidence, Ning Zhongfei did indeed come to San Francisco a few days ago. What if this was true? He let Suo Ren down and asked coldly, where is she? I can tell you right away, but you have to ensure my safety, Suo Ren said without hesitation. He knew this was his only chance at staying alive. Then there's no need. Yi Mo pointed at Suo Ren's forehead. He wouldn't negotiate with someone like that. There were too many ways to make him tell the truth. Suo Ren seemed as if he'd lost focus as Yi Mo interrogated. Tell me everything you know about my mother-in-law. Suo Ren answered expressionlessly. Ning Zhongfei and Lan Yu represented Feiyu Corporation wanting to cooperate with CKG Corporation in the U.S. I have a friend at CKG, and thus knew about it. Your name in China was just too big, so I started to investigate you, but before I could finish, you came. But I do know that Ning Qingxue is your wife, and hence that Lan Yu is your mother-in-law. Yi Mo frowned. Where is Lan Yu now? Suo Ren replied, I don't know. I just heard that they already left CGK. I don't know anything about her. I just said that to save my life. Then in that case, get the fuck down there. Yi Mo threw Suo Ren down. He couldn't help but applaud this shorty for his quick thinking. Suo Ren woke up in the middle of the air, facing the bloody scene. There was a look of desperation in his eyes. Yi Mo scanned with his spirit sense. All of the gang members here had been killed. The rest were some servants. It didn't matter if they lived. He had earned big this time. He annihilated the Grey Alliance and earned a big load of cash. Even if there were still some remaining members of the Grey Alliance, they wouldn't be able to cause much trouble. Besides, with all the people the Grey Alliance had offended all these years, perhaps as soon as after his departure, they would come looking for vengeance. Even that Jew guy from Hong Marshall Gang would come, much less other people. Yi Mo shot tens of fireballs down below and turned this gladiator ring into a sea of fire before leaving. It seemed that if he wanted to find Sister Yen, he would have to pay a visit to the Vietnamese gang who had found the bracelet. But that guy who got the bracelet had already been killed by Tong Zhu. That was one lead less. Although he was sure that Lan Yu would be okay, she was still his mother-in-law. Since she was still in San Francisco and was tracked by Suo Ren, he should go find out her whereabouts. Gang activity had been quite prevalent recently in these areas. It wouldn't be good if she fell in their hands. Although this probability was small, what's wrong with checking it out for safety's sake? When Yi Mo returned to Mingyu Tower, Shi Kaijian and Tong Zhu were worriedly waiting. Although Yi Mo hadn't left that long with Johnson, the Gray Alliance have made a name for themselves in Chinatown that they weren't to be messed with. If something happened to their new big brother, they would be gone for sure. Seeing Yi Mo come in, they finally felt relieved. Old he knew that Shi Kaijian followed Yi Mo now, and thus also showed respect to Yi Mo. At the top floor, Yi Mo called Shi Kaijian and Tong Zhu over and asked, "The Gray Alliance is over. You don't need to worry about it. Now, I want to ask, do you know about a business called CGK, a pharmaceutical corporation?" Shi Kaijian and Tong Zhu knew that since Yi Mo came back, it meant that Gray Alliance was a thing of the past, but they were still shocked when they heard it really was so. Shi Kaijian replied, "Yes, I know this company. It's a moderately sized pharmaceutical company in San Francisco. Their main activity is at the eastern suburbs, but their office building is in the most developed inner city." Yi Mo nodded and said, "Someone I know called Lan Yu was doing business negotiations with them not long ago and didn't seem to make any progress. Go and see where she is now. You only need to find out where she is. No need to startle her." After that, Yi Mo walked into the busy Chinatown streets again. Almost all the TVs in bars and entertainment centers were playing the news about a UFO invading the States. All the citizens of America had to be vigilant. If they were to find any relevant information, they should call the police. He had only been walking around for 1 hour when Shi Kaijian called saying that he needed to report in and was waiting for him at Mingyu Tower. When Yi Mo came back, both Shi Kaijian and Tong Zhu had returned. Furthermore, they had brought 2 people. One was a Chinese less than 30 years old, his eyes full of spirit and ferocity, with a faint killing chi on him. One could easily see he was no simple character. However, his power was a bit low, only yellow-level primary stage at most. The other was a white man of medium build, his eyes looking around very rapidly. Yet what was different about him was that he was tied up. "Brother Yi, this is the leader of the Tang gang, Wen Yueji. He heard that Big Brother was looking for Lan Yu, and tied up Fred here, bringing him over," Shi Kaijian quickly explained. Yi Mo looked at Wen Yueji in confusion. He was looking for news of Lan Yu. Why did this guy deliver a tied-up foreigner to him? When Yueji saw Yi Mo look over and quickly bowed with his fist, "Yi Qianbei, I've heard of your big name but hadn't been fortunate enough to see you until today. Now that I got this chance to meet Qianbei, please allow me to follow you like Shi Kaijian." Yi Mo frowned. "I won't be staying here. Why would you follow me?" When Yueji immediately said resolutely, "If Qianbei is going back to China, I'm willing to accompany Qianbei. If Qianbei wishes for me to stay and conquer turf here, I'm willing to stay too." Yi Mo looked coldly at Wen Yueji and said, "You're quite calculating. You know that I'm not interested in a small place like this, so you want to use me to climb higher up. Do you know that I only need to raise my hand and you'll be dead?" When Yueji's forehead started sweating, he immediately said, "Wan Bei's words are all truthful. It's because I've sworn that if someone could kill Jason, I would be willing to be that person's servant for life. Qianbei killed Jason, so I wish to be loyal to you. From now on, I am changing my name to Peng Yueji." Yi Mo suddenly asked, "Who is Peng Wenhan to you?" Peng Yueji laughed bitterly. "I'm his only son. When my father formed the Chinese gang, I was only a few years old. Father was afraid that the gang would affect Mother, my little sister, and me, so he sent us to another city. Although I don't know if Father had any other reasons, this is a fact for sure. More than 10 years ago, I was playing hide and seek with my sister at night. I hid in a big closet, but because my sister didn't find me for a long time, I fell asleep in the closet. When I woke up, I found my mother and sister as well as the maid, all bathed in a pool of blood. Yemo sighed. Sit down and talk. Peng Yueji nodded and continued. I soon realized that our enemies were close by. There was nothing taken from the house, so in the end, I didn't call the police. I knew that even if I did, my family wouldn't come back alive. I wanted revenge. I was aware that my dad was in Chinatown, so I rushed there. When I arrived, I immediately understood everything. My father's older brother from the gang saved me and helped me establish the Tang Gang. The only cause of our gang was to kill Jason and destroy the Grey Alliance to get revenge. Peng Yueji took a long sigh after this and spoke slowly with his eyes on Yemo. A lot of the brothers at the Hong Martial Gang originate from the Chinese gang. So I quickly found out what Qianbei did. When Qianbei went to the Grey Alliance, I was very excited and kept sending people to watch out for news. Soon I got the news that the Grey Alliance was annihilated. I wanted to find Qianbei and give my thanks. Without Qianbei, I would never have been able to get revenge in my entire life. Afterwards, Peng Yueji was going to kneel, but Yemo stopped him. He pointed at the white man and asked, "What about him?" You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.